You can hear me? Yeah. Okay. Everybody can hear me live in the cyber world. Of course, here in the room, I guess everybody can hear me fine. For those of you that are sitting at home, welcome. Actually, the camera's off, right? Camera is off. Yeah. Okay. So just to let everybody at the home audience know, we have major technical difficulties today. Matt Aldrin, who is our tech guy, is very sick. Couldn't make it in, and so his laptop is the one that, quite frankly, powers this whole presentation. So we have a backup laptop that's going to try and make do today. So we're going to be a bit bumpy, a bit choppy today along the way, but rest assured we'll get through the next 2 hours. I've been instructed not to run past 2 hours. So this format here has changed from my old presentations. We've got some new slides and whatnot that they've created for us and for me. I'll tell you a little bit about the program. I created this program about 15 years ago when I first came into management and leadership. And a little bit about myself. I got my license in, guess what year? Guess what year I got my license? Silver Star for anybody that guesses it.
92.
Oh shoot! I must have said that before, right?
No, I swear I don't remember.
So yes, I did my real estate license in 1992. I was actually still in university at the time studying psychology. I didn't come into the business full-time selling though until 1994. So in effect, as a selling realtor and broker, this is my 30th year anniversary. So we are going to celebrate. Actually, it's next week. It's in 2 weeks, in March 7th, I think is March 6th is the start date, which I'll be in Ottawa for doing the conference for REIA. And I'm on stage talking about TRESA for the conference, myself and Ray Ferris, which I'm sure most of you are aware of him there. He's Mr. REIA right now doing all those seminars for REIA. So him and myself will be giving the the 411 basically on all of TRESA. And you've probably seen me, if you haven't seen me before, that's where you're seeing me lately is on Zoom, going through the act and educating and helping everybody to get up to speed with that. And we do have changes that are going to be continuously evolving with TRESA. So, stay tuned. I always say now to people, listen, this is what it is today. Can't tell you what tomorrow is going to be, but this is what we're looking at today. And this week on TRESA, you'll have seen that in your web forms, that great document, REIA Form 320, Comprehensive Operation, is now the simplified, easy version that all of us can use, as opposed to that, Jenga's Tetris style kind of thing, trying to figure out where I had all the color codes for everybody. So the brand new one is there for everybody. It's the 320. And there's a couple of new forms that are going to be coming out, 298 and 299, which is the disclosure of latent defects in the property. I covered that off in a couple of the Zoom presentations. So myself, I sold real estate full-time from 1994. I left, my last sale was in December 2006. I entered into leadership and management with Royal LePage Canada, January, I think it was 16th or 14th, one or the other. And I took over running the corporate offices in Mississauga. So my first office that I took over was down at Square One, which was great because you could go over and grab a nice bite to eat at the cafeterias there. And of course, the worst thing was my wife calling me saying to go pick up something as well at the store. So I worked there. Then we moved up to Matheson Highway 10. We were there for a few years. And then the Signature brand, Royal LePage Signature, purchased our brokerage in November 2015. So I've been here as a leader with the company since November 2015, and have seen basically almost anything you can imagine in the business. I worked in your shoes in the trenches from 1994 to 2006. So I actually did what you do. And I always say to people, a lot has changed in the technology side, as we're discovering here today, right? So I used to, as an agent, teach people and do it in a more format like this in a classroom. But technology has changed the the way you do business. It's helped simplify it. For instance, you have DocuSign or AuthentiSign. These are instant things where you can send and get signatures, versus I would have to drive from here, my office, to the location to get a signature, come back and fax it out. So the ability for you to condense what you're doing in time by technology is remarkable. But the other part, the more important part, the actual sales part, because welcome to the world of sales, by the way. If you didn't realize you were salespeople, welcome to that reality, because you are selling your service, and the product you're selling is what? Yourself and the home for the consumer or buyer, right? The buyer or seller. So you are doing the same things, which is the bulk of the business that I did. And so I always have said, and I'm so happy that the keynote speaker we had in January was talking about the things to say, what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. And I've been drumming on that for the last 20, 25 years, because my first mentor in real estate, the first trainer I ever studied under, was a man named Floyd Wickman. And so there's a lot of senior realtors we have in our company in all three offices that'll know that name. And he's literally the godfather of all trainers. So any trainer you see today really kind of emanates from his teachings. And his teachings were really firmly rooted in what to say, how to say it, and when to say it, right? Which is great. I think it's one of the themes we have here for our year. And I'm going to teach you a very simple dialogue today. It's not in your book. A lot of the stuff you're going to hear from me is not in your book. So we'll go through Najee will do the scrolling and stuff. But I like to teach primarily with you, engaging you. If you have questions, stop me. We'll answer them. We'll do some of the workbook stuff, but we'll go off on tangents. And one of the tangents is going to be this really simple dialogue for you to secure what I think are the most important things after generating the lead. And we'll go through that. We're going to do a little assessment. A little bit before I got into management leadership, I went back to university. So I studied psychology as an undergrad, and I went back and studied business psychology and leadership. So I have a master's degree in leadership. And it was 20 years ago that I actually started writing my thesis for my master's degree, which was titled Performance Predictors for Real Estate Agents. And at that time, 20 years ago, there was very few academic studies in the world on realtors. The only ones I could find were, one was from the University of Notre Dame, Michael Cranch, you can search it up, it's online. And he studied the proactive behaviors of realtors to see whether or not that was an impact on performance. And so you'll see here in my course today, for course one, how I built out a proactive based lead generation system, right? Because it's all based on systems here for us. So I looked at his study. There's a couple of other studies that I looked at, and I created this platform called the Performance Predictors for Real Estate Agents. I created my own development model for that. Part of what you see in the course is a reflection of that. If you open up on your workbook on page 2, you'll see a very simple 10-question survey that we're going to go through. And if you are open to it, this is very anonymous, by the way. There's nothing here, names or anything like that. But I've been compiling for 20 years now responses to these 10 questions and adding them to my database, because I am working towards creating my own book, basically, right, on performance predictors, basically looking under the hood, looking into the mind of the realtor to see what these tendencies and attributes are, right? So this is for you personally in your workbook. If you're willing to share, you don't have to put your name down, but if you want to take a snapshot out of it or print whatever, however you want, I can add that into the database and say it's anonymous. Nobody's going to say, oh, you know, Ozzy there had said that he was 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 all the way down, right? So it's very anonymous. Don't worry about it, but it'll help me, because the more I get into the database, the better the results are going to be, right? The output. So any questions before I start for me in the audience?
Just an observation. So this table here could be very subjective, because some of us might be more critical of ourselves than others.
So if you'll see, and when I get to that little section, I'm going to explain to you each category. I'm going to break it down for you so that you're not just quickly in 30 seconds filling that out. I want you to actually think about each sector. And I'm going to show how I captured in my study the ability to work around that actual reality. So I thought about that 20 years ago, right? Subjective. So that's cool. Like, you can subjectively overrate yourself, or you can subjectively underrate yourself, right? People have those personality tendencies, right? So I've got the built-in inhibitor of you doing that, right? So we'll get to that in a second. But otherwise, any other questions before we start with me? Again, stop me whenever we go. I love actually questions that are today questions, like related to what's happening today in your life on the street. Because, you know, I could talk about all the stuff in the book and what I'm going to share with you offline, but what's happening in your life right now on the street? Because in our business, what's more important is not what happened last year, right? In fact, when you look at the studies and the market data, we get the numbers, the reports from Trev and whatnot, when they do year over year analysis, I'm not a big fan of that, right? Because our business is a business that you look backwards, you know, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, not 365 days. The 365-day look back is a trend analysis type of thing. If you want to know what's happening right now, you want to know what happened yesterday, what happened 2 weeks ago, what happened 30 days ago. And so what's happening right now with you, because primarily in this audience, here in the room and at home, you've done deals, you've done transactions. So you're in the trenches. I'm not in the trenches anymore. So I vicariously learned myself from what you guys are experiencing. So if there's something that's happening right now, an experience, share it, because the rest of us are going to learn that way too. It is called vicarious learning. We're all learning from each other. Make sense? Awesome. Okay, so the first slide, if we can go down to that. And hopefully the people at home can see that. So the first question I always ask, and I've been doing this, as I said, I've written this program 15, 20 years ago, before that book, Getting to Why. But my question is, why did you get into the real estate business? And we don't have the marker anymore, right?
Not today, no. Sorry, Mike.
If I do this marker, it's not going to come off. So I'm going to do it on the workboard, but I'm going to take the first one, the easiest one, because we're all thinking the same thing, I bet. The first one is, why do we get into the business, right? Would you agree that money's probably one of the reasons why you got into the business? Unless you're independently wealthy, you won the lottery, you know, things are good, I don't need any money, I got a rich whatever, right? So money's off the table. We're all in it for money, right? You're not a charity, just to be clear. Okay, good. What are some of the other reasons that you got into the business? Now, if you've been in the business for 10 years, 20 years, 5 days, just look back to, why did you pay OREA, or now RICO, $3,000, $5,000 to get in the business, and you paid Trev a couple thousand for your license, and you paid OREA, CREA dues, and RICO dues? Why'd you do all that stuff? Yeah.
Entrepreneurship?
Be an entrepreneur. Okay. What does that look like for you?
Flexibility, managing my own schedule, not having to report to the boss.
Did I spell it? Flexibility you got in there? Okay. What was the other one? Flexibility?
Financial independence.
Well, that's a separate one, right?
Got autonomy in the chat.
Autonomy. So autonomy, I hear that word. I'm going to ask the question, whoever said that, would that be your own boss? Is that what that looks like? Would that person that said that
She
online
said-
agree?
She agrees, yeah.
Be your own boss.
Preston says freedom.
Freedom. Can we say that like Mel Gibson in the movie Braveheart to the audience? Who's seen the movie?
Freedom.
Okay, let's do it. Go. Freedom, right? I love that. Freedom is it, man. Freedom is it. I'm going to do the opposite of that stuff, but be your own boss before I go to freedom. Here's what my analysis is. I analyze people all the time. So don't be worried though if you come in and see me that I'm doing some kind of Freudian thing on you and dissecting your brain. Don't worry about it. But I am. I'm kind of doing that. If you're going to be your own boss in this business, here's my observation. And there's this thing called the Pareto principle in business, in life. You ever heard of the Pareto principle? The 80-20 rule, called the Pareto principle. Pareto. Again, nothing's in your book, right? I just freelance and I do whatever I want here, right? So Pareto principle, write that down. Look what that means. It's the 80-20 rule. I will argue with everybody right now and say the 80-20 rule does not exist in real estate. What does 80-20 mean? It means 80% of the people in the real estate business only do 20% of the business. Or if you look at it from this point of view, 20% of the realtors do 80% of the business. My observations is nowhere near like that. 80-20 is not what we're seeing right now. It's a lot less than that. It's probably like 90-10, right? 90-10. Meaning 10% of your realtor population today is doing roughly 90% of your business. If I showed you this number right here, what does that number mean to you? And it's not the interest rates a couple of years ago for all of us that wish it was the case. What is 1.75?
Average deal by realtor.
Man, that guy gets a gold star. How'd you know that? Did you hear me talk about that too?
No, I think there's like 66,000 transactions and like 50,000 realtor.
So I've been tracking this stat going back to 2002. And that's exactly what that stat is. You're the first person in all the years I've ever taught this course that knew that. So, but I do talk about it sometimes on Signature Live. So 1.75 is the average transaction per realtor in the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board right now. And so in TREB, here's the numbers for you. There were 65,936 deals, transactions, ends, okay, done in 2023. An end, you double that number by 2 because there's actually a buy side and a sell side to an end, right? But the actual sale, the house, there's only 1, but you add 2 to that. So you're up to 131,872 ends on a buy and sell side. Everybody's tracking with me? It makes sense? Okay. We had 75,215 realtors in the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board last year. So that ratio is 1.75%. So you are competing for 1.75% on average of the business. And this includes the big teams that are out there, the mega producers. This also includes, this number is lower, but I only base it on the numbers here, but the number's actually lower because we have another board that surrounds TREB, the ITSOS boards, right? So that's your Mississauga Real Estate Board, that's your Durhams and Barries and all those. And those realtors who are not members of TREB are actually trading inside of TREB as non-members, right? So that ratio actually comes down. But we'll leave it there. So it's kind of shocking when you see that 1.75%, or sorry, 1.75 ends is the production of the average realtor in the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. So what does that mean to you individually in the room? Do you feel encouraged by that? Do you feel inspired by that? Do you feel like I should leave the business because of that? No. You're here in the room because obviously, and with our company, you take a different perspective on things. You're not going to be the average. And I'm just going to give you a couple of numbers of what this looks like, where the trend has gone down. This is a trend down hard. The first year I started tracking, it was 8.54 deals per realtor, okay? We had only 17,500 realtors in the Toronto Real Estate Board at that time. That's called Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. My last year in selling, in 2006, was 6.92. So this rounded up and say 7 transactions per average realtor. Now, of course, the average sale price was significantly less. When I started selling first time in 1994, and I sold primarily up in Brampton, single family detached home, the standard 2,100, 2,300 square foot house, 3-4 bedroom, could have a family. What do you think the average price of that was back in 1994? 250. Wow. Okay. Anybody else?
200.
200?
300.
How much?
300.
300. This is 1994 we're talking about. Interest rates were, what do you think the interest rates were back then?
8%, 18%.
That was, so the real high ones were
12%.
1, right? They were 20, 21%. That's how high they got up there. But in that year, we were probably between, 9 to 11%, depending upon what was happening.
We'll go with less than 100K.
100,000
Yeah.
was the average sale price. All right, so you're
160.
147,500 was the average sale price for a single family detached home up in Brampton. That today will sell for probably 1.1, 1.2 million dollars. And that's what's happened in 30 years, right? Now, if you look at what we were earning on that compared to what you can earn on your 1.1 billion sale, as long as you're not dramatically discounting your fees, the results are pretty good, right? Like I would argue that for what you're doing, your payout, your income, your fee is substantially higher for the effort that's going in, which provides you more time to put more effort in other areas. That's where the technology plays into to the game. Where it would take me, twice as long to affect a sale because of the lack of technology, I was working twice as many hours as you guys can do today, right? Make sense? Okay, so we got be your own boss. What I say to some people when it's be your own boss, come into my office. Again, I'm not going to Freud you that much, right? If you do, and I don't bite, so I'm a nice guy. Don't be afraid. Come on in, say hi. What I'm going to ask you, if your business is challenged, what's going on? I'm struggling, and it's the market, and we externalize all these issues and the problems rather than look internally to see what's happening, right? We're going to blame the outside. We're not going to look in the inside. And the first question I'm going to ask you, so if you do this now, if you show up at my office next week or next month, you get courage to do that, my question is going to be, tell me what you did yesterday, tell me what you did last week, and tell me what you did last month. Because if you want me to diagnose a problem for you, I have to know what the symptoms of your problems are. And the symptoms of your problem are going to be, what activities have you done? What have you done to build your business yesterday, last week, last month? Does that all make sense? And right now, like generally when I teach this class, I see your eyes, I see your brains are now going, oh, what did I do yesterday? And if you can't remember, that's okay. Can't remember what you did last week, that's okay. Can't remember what you did last month, that's okay. Because now going forward, you're going to have that mindset to go, what did I do yesterday when I have a problem today? What's my problem? I have an empty pipeline. I have no leads. I have nobody that I'm working with. Well, if we just go back, like your doctor's going to do when you go in for your physical, he's going to check all these, vitals of you. So vitals for us in real estate are the activities we do or do not do for today and tomorrow, right? So when you come in and ask me what's happening, why am I struggling? Come in with a list of things you've been doing, and then we can actually work on the list and figure out what you're really good at, maybe what we can improve on, and maybe what we can discard. But if you come into any broker, manager, trainer, coach to say, hey, you present yourself, I don't know, the world's, falling apart in real estate for me. I'm struggling, but you haven't actually done the activities and the work before that appointment with me. The diagnosis is go back and figure out why, right? There's a why there for you. So when you're your own boss in that scenario, this may sound a little bit harsh, but I say it every time. You may want to suspend yourself, put yourself on probation. Worst case scenario, you might want to fire yourself, right? Because you are your own boss. Let's be honest. Most of us got in this career because they want somebody telling them what to do, where to be at a certain time, what report to fill out, punching a clock, driving. Look, I come down from the 410 every day. I live right on the border of Caledon and Brampton. Do you think I love coming down the 410? Hate it, but I do it, right? And if you don't like doing that, you've chosen to be in a sales environment here, then make it worthwhile. Don't be the 1.75 average person, or worse yet, the person that's below 1.75, because you're not going to be able to experience the whys of why you got in. And give you a couple more, because there's a couple more big ones that I always hear from people. Why did you get into real estate? And I asked this question to start the course for the biggest reason is this, because you're going to make a choice in your career engaging with sellers and buyers about giving away your fees as rebates or cutting your commission. Has anybody ever cut their commission in this room? Buyers that didn't put your hands up. Come on. What buyers, how many buyers have you given rebates to? And I'm not saying I don't agree or disagree with doing that. That's not what I'm going to get at here. What I'm getting at is when you're going to be confronted with that decision to give away your income, it's got to align with your why, or if it doesn't, it's now in conflict with your why, right? So they've, as a seller or buyer, convinced you or given you bigger reasons of their whys why you should give them 1% back or $5,000 or $10,000. Does that make sense? So you're not rooted in why you're doing what you're doing. Here's a statistic for you. Only 14% of consumers, this is all consumers, it's a big study was done in the United States about 10 years ago. Only 14% of consumers buy based upon price, or put that in brackets, buy based upon discount. Only 14%. So what does that mean? There's 86% of consumers that buy based upon what? What are they buying on?
Quality.
Quality.
Trust. Quality, trust.
How about the word starts with a V?
Value.
Who's got value in the room? Each and every one of you have value. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever allow the external world, the noise that's out there, tell you that as a realtor, you're anything but of value. Because there's people who will do that to you. I've been in the business for 30 years full time. And I've watched it evolve because of social media, where people enjoy and love. What's what? Nope, we got somebody up there.
Been on like a time to tell you.
Where people enjoy and love criticizing people. Don't let that filter into who you are. Because you can be two types of people. You can be two types of people. You can be a thermometer. I don't even know how to spell that. You know what? Thermostat. What was the other one? Thermometer and thermostat. The thermometer regulates temperature based upon outside input. So we put a thermometer outside our house to see what the temperature, the ambient temperature is outside. And we watch the mercury go up and down, right? Based upon the outside. So it's reacting to external forces. If you're that type of person, then you're a thermometer type of person. A thermostat, we have thermostats in our homes. Your home's getting a little bit cold. Go to the thermostat, crank the heat up, right? It's internal. I'm actually turning inside heat up. Maybe it's really warm outside. It's summertime. We go to the thermostat, we crank the air conditioning.
Cool it down.
You are somebody that's an internally driven person. Are you externally driven, internally driven? Very simple, basic. I mean, I know there's lots of personality studies. People do discs, and disc studies, the Myers-Briggs. Very simple way to look at it. Learned that from a guy named Dr. Dennis Waitley. He was a preeminent psychologist, and he was a psychologist for the U.S. astronaut program back in the 60s and 70s. Had a pretty important job. And he was actually the psychologist for the U.S. Olympic team back in the 70s. Thermostat, thermometer. Make sense? Give me a couple more reasons why you're in the business.
Passion.
Passion. What's your passion?
Real estate.
I thought you were going to say this. People.
People.
I thought you were going to say people. You love people. I love people, so I'm going to get into the business of real estate. Until you meet a real jerk of a person.
Yeah, you gotta be personable to be able to do this business. You gotta be really social. I mean, you're nice.
Is that-
You gotta love people.
Is that entirely true, though?
No.
Yeah, in some.
I've seen some very successful realtors that have no personality. And you know, we look at them and go, how do people deal with those people? because they have no personality, if they have a seven-figure income.
Yeah.
Well, because they know a value. They're providing some type of value to whoever clientele they're working with, and they're working with that client-specific tranche of people, right? So it's not necessarily, you know, in the disc stuff, it would be the high eyes and those types of people, right? That are influencer people, which I'm a bit of that, right? I have a little bit of that in my background. And I'm very high in empathy. I'm a trained actual emotional intelligence assessor, right? So I got assessed, certified in that about 22 years ago now. So I do assessments of people on EQI, which is the emotional version of the IQ standard, right? So emotional quotient is mapped on the same way that the intelligent quotient. We all heard of IQ, right? Like I have a high IQ, I have a low IQ, blah, blah, blah. EQ emotional has the same type of thing. So I was one of the first in Canada when I was doing my master's degree to get certified in that. So really cool stuff. Again, that works on basically how you internally manifest yourself and externally manifest yourself. How empathetic you are, how do you deal with stress, general mood, how good you are at making decisions is one of the things that are assessed on making decisions, which is something that a lot of us are afraid to do and we resist and we procrastinate on. Part of my actual thesis was looking at the duality of being proactive and being a procrastinator. There's a lot more procrastinators in the world than there are proactive people in the world, right? It's an amazing thing. All right, so people. How about maybe you want to get into business? I just got a couple more for you. Because you want to do some investments. Is any investors in the room? Yes. Yep. One of the reasons why I got into business. Maybe you want to fund things. Could be your retirement. Who's here that are looking at retiring soon?
We've got unlimited potential for growth and income opportunities.
Absolutely unlimited. Okay, I like that. But I always like to do the extremes of things, right? The opposite. So if there's unlimited ceiling, what's the opposite of that? Unlimited floor, right? So what you do every day, like if you come in my room and say, what did you do yesterday? What did you do last week? What did you do last month? Because you're not reaching your ceiling, you're on your floor. Well, if we figure out you did nothing, you're going to go through the floor. The floor's going to get rotted, right? What other reasons? I love that one.
That was Jude.
Patience be one of them or no?
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience for what?
Patience for just everyone in general. Like
Oh, yes. You need patience for.
Deals, people.
They have medication for that, okay? It's called Prozac. Okay, great. I like that. That's a good start. I said I was going to do the opposite of freedom because people said freedom, right? What's the opposite of freedom?
Flavor.
Yeah, slavery. Slavery.
If I jump in, Mike, I got a problem with that word.
Okay.
I got a problem with it.
What's the
If you
problem?
want to be a successful real estate agent,
Yes.
somebody through an entrepreneur, you're gonna have a lot less freedom than you do in a corporate job.
Good point.
You're juggling a couple of listings, you got a buyer, client, the neighbor down the street who walks their dog past your house every day, wants you now to rent their property. And you're gonna look at me and tell me you have freedom?
Right.
I'm sorry, you don't have, you have less freedom than your neighbor across the street who works the 9 to 5.
And congratulations on getting to where this is all about. Creating systems to manage the freedom that you want, right? Because to your point, you're exactly right. The amount of moving parts that exist in real estate, that people, if they put it down on paper, and I actually have did you guys get the handouts and stuff that Matt usually gives out for me? The critical roles of a realtor, it's got like 170 things that you guys do. You can start reading through that list and go, yeah, I don't think I have freedom anymore. And you start to look at all the things we're doing. And you can add to that list. Like that list was, I've had that list for like 15, 20 years. So you're absolutely right. Coming to that realization to get to freedom, because you can get there. You're not there yet. That's a long-term goal. Because one of the other studies that was done in real estate, they analyzed the success. There was a study out of California, I think it was Berkeley. They analyzed the success of realtors based upon their years of experience in the business. The most successful free realtors in the business were those people that were at this part of their business model. They were actually winding it down. They didn't want business. They were trying to get out of it. They couldn't stop getting it. But that 0 to 5, that 5 to 10, you're getting beat up. Like, good luck. Like, you're working 60, 70, 80-hour week work days, right? That's what I was doing. When I started, I was 22, 24 years old. I had no credibility, had a little bit of student debt, and I put in hours like you wouldn't believe. I would get into my office first thing in the morning before the ladies at the front desk. We had those old pot coffee machines. I'd start it up for them. I'd hang around the office, make calls, you know, talk to agents, listen to them talking on the phone. This is an experiment you guys can start doing. Come into the offices and listen to people that are on phone calls. You don't have to be a stalker here. Just listen to what they're saying. And I picked up some brilliant ideas by listening to what people were saying. And I also picked up some not so brilliant things, what I would never say to people. People talking themselves out of transactions, right? Love it. Thank you for pointing that out. Retirement. The other one here, this is what I'm have been doing right now, which is the education of my kids. So I'm funding that. Ouch, that hurts. My daughter decides to go to private school, she says, and how do you say no to your daughter? But and she had her play last night. She was on stage doing a Shakespeare, modern version of Shakespeare. Courage for her to do that. And so some of you know my story too with my daughter. Some of you may not, but almost 2 years ago, I almost lost my daughter. She was diagnosed with multiple brain aneurysms. We spent 32 days with sick kids. Had 5 brain surgeries at that time. She's had 1 since then, so 6 brain surgeries. She's a 15-year-old rock star champion kid that is an inspiration to me and to a lot of people that know her now. And she's actually, my daughter, become a advocate for healthcare in the province of Ontario. And I've got her to meet with Doug Ford a couple of times to actually give her ideas to him. And he's changed the Healthcare Act on one of her ideas this time last year. It was about a year ago, where if you remember, the announcement was you could take your OHIP card, your health card, to a private clinic and get an MRI or a CAT scan without having to wait in the public system, which took 9-10 months for her to get in to get an MRI. And so she came up with that idea. She presented it to him in 2002 in the fall. 3-4 months later, he changed the act. Now, you, me, any of us can go and do that. And an MRI is only a couple $100. You know, my daughter could have lost her life for a couple $100. But, you know, so when she came to say she wanted to go in private school after she recovered, I was like, okay, no problem. And then last night, watching her do what she was doing was just remarkable, remarkable. A lot of us walk around with pain. Your clients are going to be walking around with pain too. And if they trust you, the word trust is up here somewhere, they're going to share with you those kind of life stories and, you know, take care of those life stories, embrace those stories. I still talk to past clients of mine. I don't sell anymore, but I built deep relationships with those people, right? They're part of my extended family because they're buying the single largest investment of their life. And if you take that and don't take that seriously, right? We take it for granted that you're just doing this. And I know we do get into these routines and, you know, it's a next, but really just deeply think about how important you are in that person's life, that family's life. You're putting them in perhaps their forever home. And if they stay there for 15 or 20 years and you don't get a sale out of them in 15 or 20 years, that's a success and testament to you that they stayed there for 15 or 20 years, right? But every year, you can get 2 or 3 referrals from them. We're going to talk about that as the program evolves, about how you build that type of business, right? Referral business, which is what my business was built on. It was built hardcore, no freedom in my life, open houses. There's how many weeks in a year? I forget. 52. So how many weekends are in a year then? Weekdays of the weekend, sorry. So there's 52 weeks, right? How many weekends,
104
days,
days, 8 days.
the days, Saturdays and Sundays? How many Saturdays and Sundays do you have?
Roughly.
Roughly 104, because there could be, yeah, right, there could be at least a year like there is this year, right? So you have 104 opportunities theoretically to do open houses. Does anybody in here do open houses? Who doesn't do open houses? It's an opportunity maybe for you.
Yeah.
My first number of deals were open houses, right? This is be part of establishing what it is you want to do to generate your leads. Because right now, you don't have a massive database. Not that you need a massive database. When I say massive database, I mean massive database of walking, talking billboards who love you, know you, and trust you, and will refer you every day of the week and month, okay? You can have 20 of those people that'll do that for you. You can have 50 people that say they have 500, 1,000, good for them, but you really only need, believe it or not, 20 to 25 A-pluses in your database. And I'm going to go through that today, what that looks like for you to start qualifying who you have in your databases, okay? So any more, or we're good to go to the next slide? And that's, I guess, to put a little image of the roller coaster. I like roller coasters. Anybody not like roller coasters?
Not in real estate.
My dad put me on a roller coaster when I was 3 years old. 3 years old. But they could do that back then. That was the 70s. You know, we weren't in bubble wrap. Like, you know, I grew up in the beaches in Toronto. I was on the subways and the streetcars in Toronto when I was like 9, 10 years old. You'd never do that to your kids today. It's children's, right? Back then, we all did it. I played in the streets, no, road hockey. Yeah, I know. Okay, next slide. What do we got? I think it's going to be my little assessment. So again, I said this before, you want to share your results. It's anonymous. Please do. I can add it to my database of what I'm creating, because this will eventually evolve into a basically a scientific analysis book of realtors. So you can help me do that and help yourself. And I might even give you a free book when I do publish it and autograph it anyway. All right, so we're going to assess yourself and an ideal realtor. So to your point, you know, earlier you're saying subjective. So I kind of put this look at the ideal realtor in there to prevent you from being too subjective. Because what you're going to do is you're going to measure yourself against who in your mind's eye is the ideal realtor. Could be somebody here in the office, could be a realtor from another company, could be one of those reality TV movie guys that are out there that are not so reality kind of guys and girls, whoever that is. So what we're going to look at is these 10 assessment tools. So the first one, and the first 3 actually, you'll notice are bolded, right? They're darker. The first one is lead generation prospecting. Lead generation prospecting is the most important thing you're going to be doing as a realtor. End of story, full stop, lead generation prospecting, okay? That's why it's number 1. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself as somebody that can generate leads and prospect every day? And in your mind's eye, that realtor that you adore, worship, what would their mark be? Okay, number 2 is booking the appointment. This is being able to convert that lead that you've generated into a face-to-face appointment. Maybe you could do a Zoom as well. That's new technology. I prefer face-to-face. In fact, there's a acronym that I was taught by Floyd Wickman. You'll hear this from a lot of the top realtors we have in here that are Floyd students. It's called CETO. Does anybody in the room, and you can't say it because I taught you this already, does anybody know what CETO stands for? It's not Cito Gaston, the Blue Jays manager. I learned it when he was the manager. That's how old I am. I'm 53. Cito Gaston was the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. What's that?
Come into a table.
No, come into office. CETO. When you're booking an appointment, think of CETO as your goal, which is come into office, or it could be go to their house, right? But come into office is easier. And it's probably a lot safer, especially on the buyer side, for you to bring them into the office. I'm a big hardcore fan of making sure you protect yourself and don't put yourself into any exposed situations with strangers, okay? So how good are you at booking the appointment, converting the lead into an appointment to do a CITO, come into office? Number 3, how good are you now, after you've done the most important is generate the lead, second most important is book the appointment. Now, how good are you converting that into a contract? Because unless you sign them up on a buyer representation agreement, or you sign them up on a listing agreement, they could be playing the field, right? I got a wedding ring, I'm committed. If I don't have a wedding ring, right, maybe I'm not committed. Take that out, it's really hard to get out. I'm not committed now, right? I'm playing the field. I'm dating a whole bunch of people out there. Number 4, now we're not bolded letters and words. Developing a plan for your client. What does that look like? Well, we're really good here at our company in giving you resources where there's plans in place. You can go to our design center, getting the booklet for buyers, you can get the one for sellers, which is fantastic. Very few brokerages provide these resources that we do. And these can shape what your plan's going to look like with this client. I would really encourage you to create your own to complement that one. Next week, we're going to do buyers. I'm going to show you the one I had when I used it, 20 years ago. It's old, but still, I would encourage you to do something like that. I have a listing one as well. I'll show it to you when I get into the listing course. How good are you in developing a plan for a client? And this means not a generic plan that everybody else is doing. I mean a specific plan that is targeted to that person's needs. Right? The ideal realtor versus you. Number 5, taking control. How good are you in managing the conversation and taking control of the conversation versus allowing the prospect consumer taking control? And I'll give you an example what that looks like. You walk into your doctor and you're not feeling well, and you're telling your doctor, I went on to WebMD last night and I've diagnosed myself. This is what I got. This is what I want. I want you to prescribe me Prozac. I want you to prescribe whatever, right? Doctor's going to look at you and say, that's not how it works. Sorry, I have to assess you. He's taking control, right? You're not going in because you read something on the internet. Why are you doing that as a realtor? Somebody's read something on the internet and you go in, you're the professional, you're the one that's in the trenches every day. And you're letting somebody tell you because they read a story in the Globe or they read a story in the Financial Post or they saw an interview on BNN. How good are you at taking control? Versus the ideal realtor in the room. How good are they at taking control? Ability to qualify. What does that look like? Well, if you're working for a seller today that purchased a home within the last 1 to 2 years, what should you be doing? They're coming to market. They want to come to market now, and they bought within the last 1 or 2 years. What's something you should be doing immediately? Yes.
You could do the pre-approval and then the market.
Well, not pre-approval, but you're going to do a mortgage verification on them. Everybody heard of the word mortgage verification before? Why would you do a mortgage verification of somebody that's bought in the last year or two? They might have lost a lot of money. What if they were only at 5% down? The market may have trended down in that specific micro market by 15 or 20%. They're underwater. Do you have then a bona fide listing to take? Here's something that most of you don't even know. The moment you take the listing and put it on the MLS, you've created a contract with every realtor brokerage out there in the marketplace that you're going to pay whatever you put in there as the operating fee. If you put 2.5% in there, that's your contract, a binding contract to the RE/MAX, to the Century 21, to the other Royal Pages, to anybody. You're paying 2.5%. If you haven't checked under the hood, make sure that there's equity in the home to pay that out. You may be helping that person sell the house and hurting yourself and having to pay for the fee. All right. So ability to qualify. On the buy side, can they buy? The two big words I want you to remember for buyers is this, when you're qualifying. Do they have the capability and capacity to buy? Capability and capacity. Those are your two biggest words. What's the ideal realtor doing? What are you doing? The ability to persuade. This is where words and language, conversations, the dialogue, knowing what to say, how to say it, when to say it comes into play. This is an art form, be able to persuade people. I can't tell you the countless hours and hours and hours and hours and hours I spent in learning dialogues as a realtor. A lot of them are still inside me, and I have to be triggered in a situation, it'll come out. But I practice them, called PDR, practice, drill, rehearse, PDR, practice, drill, rehearse. Dialogues for specific situations. What's a specific situation that you would have to persuade somebody that you would counter at a listing presentation every time? Every time any one of you are going to walk into a listing presentation, unless it's your grandma or your parents, they might not ask you this. But any listing presentation you go into, what are they going to ask you to do?
Commission discounts?
Commission discount. Who's never gone to a house before where that conversation of a commission hasn't, or your fee hasn't come up? It was your grandma, right?
No, it was someone else. But it was my very first listing too.
What?
It was my very first listing. They didn't bother asking me at all.
Well, you are lucky. Let's expect and be prepared for the reality that you're going to deal with a commission or a fee-based conversation.
Yeah, I know that.
So the dialogue on what to say, how to say it, when to say it, is the ability to persuade inside of this. How good are you versus the ideal realtor? And I can tell you that some of the people I've met in our company they crush it. They're like sharpshooters when it comes to this stuff. That's how good they are. Why? Because they do invest every day in practicing their dialogues. I'm not going to name a name in here, but one of our top realtors every morning, Monday to Friday, participates on a call with 20 realtors in North America. They split up into partners, and it's random. So there's 20 of them every day. They get a new partner, and for a half an hour, one is a seller and one is the realtor. Every day, 7-figure income earner in this office that does that. If that person believes, and he's been in the business, it's a he, for almost as long as I have. If that person is doing that with that much experience, that's your ideal person I want you to measure yourself on right now when you're looking for that, okay? Number 8, effectively negotiate terms, i.e. pricing and closing. How good are you at navigating what essentially one of the biggest reasons you've been hired by the seller and the buyer is to negotiate for them. The buyer wants you to get them the best what? Deal. Seller wants you to get them the highest price, best deal. How good are you as that facilitator of getting the highest price, best closing date, best terms, basically, okay? The last two is they're both client service, but I break it up into 2 sectors. Number 9, the short-term client service experience. And what is that? I've got a buyer that I've now signed up on our buyer representation agreement. They're working with me. We're out looking at properties, and my short term with them is looking, doing the offer, and it's closed. So that could be 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. How good are you guys and girls at that client relationship in the short term? Arguably, my experience is you guys are very good at it. Once you get your teeth into somebody, by and large, the people we have at Signature are very good at executing on the short term. So I don't want to influence that. So hopefully you already put that in there. Here's the other side though, the long-term side. How good are you now at managing the relationship with those people that you've sold? that have had the greatest experience with you as a buyer, as a seller? Are they in a program where you're connecting with them, communicating with them? We're going to talk a little bit about the connectivity plan here. It's in this chapter, right? In this course. This is where I think one of the biggest failures we have in the industry is the staying in touch, the connecting and keeping yourself in front of that person. Okay. Who's the ideal realtor versus yourself? Again, you would really help me if you send them in. You could do it anonymously. I don't care who you are, whatever. You're going to be a number, and I've got thousands and thousands of these responses. The more I get, the more statistically significant my paper becomes. Okay. So now you're going to have your grade, and you're going to have the grade of the ideal realtor. Now, if you feel bad about what your grade is, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel ashamed about it. There's nothing wrong with that. All you've done is you become more self-aware about yourself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
In my paper, in spite of all the other things, being proactive, not being procrastinating, having high motivation, all these types of things, the most important determinant of performance success for realtors, and I dare say for anybody in sales, is your self-awareness of yourself. To me, that's what my paper basically showed. The more you know about yourself and how you respond to situations, the better you're going to perform. Okay? But hopefully that little exercise opened up a window into who you are, giving you some opportunities to work on, and maybe part of your plan. So today we're going to do some short-term plan stuff and midterm, long-term. Maybe this is something you start as a plan too. Forget about the financial business side. I'll not forget about it. We want you to do that, but tag on this as well. Okay. You've got what is your job? Is the next title. I love this one. I've been saying this one since I was selling real estate. Every day in the business of real estate, you wake up, and if you've been in my class before, you've heard me, you can't say it. What do you wake up as? You've heard it, you can't say it. Every day in real estate, you wake up what? He's just chomping, he wants to say it. Every day you wake up unemployed. Unemployed. Isn't that exciting? You wake up unemployed in the real estate business. So the next question, the job therefore of a realtor is to do what?
Generate lead.
Yes, sir. To generate a lead, which is the first thing on my list in your survey, right? Your questionnaire. The first thing. You wake up unemployed, and you need to then wake up and generate leads. This is really messy. I guess I'll have to go over there. Nobody can see me writing, I guess, at home, unfortunately.
No, I'm sending pictures of the board.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you wake up unemployed every day, and your job therefore is to generate a lead. Would you like me to share with you the $1 million dialogue that I learned? How much do you want to pay for it? Because it's valuable. I don't think it's free.
We pay food.
Oh, yes, you can ply me with food any day of the week. Any day of the week. I love food. I love food. Okay, so I'm going to give you the $1 million dialogue that I paid a lot of money for, actually, when I took Floyd Whitman's course. And this will make you a fortune. Use it in any part of life. Use it again. Are you married?
No.
You got a boyfriend?
Yes.
Use it against him. Okay.
Okay.
You never taught my wife this one. It is a dialogue. It's called the SHARP dialogue. And I'm going to give you two dialogues in one. This is how you book an appointment. Is it going to work 100% of the time? No, never does. But I bet you're going to be like 60, 70, 80% successful if you practice this thing and make it internally yours, okay? It's called the SHARP dialogue. It's called the if I could, would you? dialogue. So you can use this in any aspect of your life. Najee, if I could show you how I could sell your house for the most amount of money in the least amount of time, would you be interested in hearing more about that?
Perfect, absolutely.
Very simple, right? Very simple. Would you say, no, I don't want to hear more about that? Let's do it again. You do it to me this time.
Mike, if I can sell your house for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time, would you be interested in that?
Close. That's why practice has to come. Because you said if I could sell it, we're not talking about selling. We're taking that word out of the equation for now, right? It's if I could show you how I could, then we'll say sell there.
Okay.
In the least, for the most amount of money in the least amount of time, would you be interested in hearing more? So let's do it again. If I could show you how I could sell your house for the least amount of money, would you be interested in hearing more? Now, it's the if I could, would you? That's all it is. You fill in the blanks of what that looks like. If you're dealing with a buyer, if I could show you how I could get you the best property in the best neighborhood, would you be interested in hearing more? You make it up, right? You want to convince your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mortgage broker, or something. If I could, would you? So that's the lead in to get them to say one word. One word is what?
Yes.
You win with yeses. If I could, would you will get you a yes. It's 60 to 80% of the time. There's going to be people that refuse to agree with you, and that's fine. With those types of people, you move on. Don't go and force yourself on people. Okay? 60 to 8% of the time, that's going to work. Yes.
Is it again? For the first example.
If I could show you how I could sell your house for the most amount of money in the least amount of time, would you be interested in hearing more? Who's going to say no to that? Okay, but then there's a follow-up. That's called the sharp. You're going sharp in at an angle to get them to say yes. Now you're going to give them a close for an appointment because you're generating a lead, booking an appointment. And this is called the alternative choice of closing. Starts with this one, the sharp, and then the alternative choice looks like this. Great. When would a good time be? Would tonight at 7 p.m. or 1 p.m. tomorrow work better? So you transition from sharp to alternative choice immediately in the one sentence. They give you the yes, you go to the great. When would a good time to meet? You guys write this down. When would a good time be to meet? Would 7 p.m. tonight or 1 p.m. tomorrow work better? Okay, that's a choice. I know some people are thinking, well, I'm just going to tell Mike, let me get back to you. I got to check with my wife. That's fine. Yeah.
There isn't any wipes, but I brought you a sponge.
Oh.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Beth. Thank you.
Sorry, where was I? So yeah, people will say, it's not going to work. I got to get back to you, Mike. Great. Let me pencil you in. So this is part 3. So I'll give you, there's a strategy here. Sharp, alternative, and the pencil. Great. Let me pencil you in for 1 tomorrow and get back to me if you need to. We got to book the appointment. There's a psychological miracle that happens when you actually get them to say yes, and then they say, well, I have to get back to you. I don't know. Great. Let me pencil you in tomorrow for 1 o'clock, because with pencils, we can do what? We're going to erase the pencil thing, right? So we're erasing them. Maybe you're 68% of that booked appointment. The next day, maybe somebody does call you, but you're still going to be over 50% booked appointments. This is what you want. You want a booked appointment. You want to qualify. You want to qualify those that are going to waste your time and those that don't have a potential for you to put a ring on their finger. Does that make sense? Okay. Definition of business planning. They forgot 2 key words in there. It should say the process of making decisions and choices to predict with the greatest certainty the future of your business. So there should be 2 words put in there. It should be the process of making decisions and choices to predict with the greatest certainty your business future. Does everybody like that, by the way? If I could, would you, that way? Is that gonna be helpful for people?
Yes.
Let me just caution everybody though. Practice it before you actually try to execute on it. I always found, I used to rush sometimes when I was a younger go-getter kind of guy, and I would go and do stuff. I'd hear it without practicing it, and I'd fumble, make a mistake, which I learned from that too, by the way, because you always, you feel bad when you make these mistakes. So I've always remembered from that. But practice it with a neighbor, a friend, colleague, what have you. It really does work. I call it the $1 million dialogue, and a lot of our top agents use it. Yeah.
So when I was listening to Floyd, he also mentioned that if you do a range between the hours of time, so like he says, like if I can come between the hours of 7 to 8, would that also work? And then they also work to be like, okay,
Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah. I can give, if you guys bring in next week laptops or whatnot, I can give you off of a USB chip that I still have that I had from Floyd, and you can put it into your laptop. There's like tons of dialogue. Did I give it to you?
No, I have it, yeah.
And what do you think of it?
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's like 40-year-old material that is better than any material you'll ever hear today about what to say, how to say it, and when to say it for real estate, bar none. It's the gold standard of what we hear. Tons.
They could also put it on their Apple Music or Spotify if you're in the car.
Yeah.
So you can listen to it on your drive to London or picture wherever you're going.
If you have your laptop here, you're in the room. I'm sorry for those at the studio audience that can't get it, but if you're ever in the West office, come see me because I keep it in my desk. So if you have a laptop here today with you or whatever device, come into my office. I've got a video version of a presentation of his, and I've got the audio stuff as well. Yeah. He's amazing. Thank God I got to connect with him. I think we can go to the next page there. Should say systems are critical. Yeah. Systems are critical. And what are the systems for in our business? Well, we got lead generation. What's that again? What's the job of a realtor again? To generate leads. You're going to hear that word a lot. Generate leads. Qualifying, showing property, and maintaining contact. That's your systems. How do you manage those systems? We had the word freedom brought up, where we don't have freedom, and I agree with that. So what's one of the liberating things that we can have to give ourselves a little bit more freedom to control and manage those things that are available to us today? Yeah.
Like a system.
Correct. What we would call that in our business. CRM, right? Contact relationship management system is what we're going to be looking at investing in for our business. There's another thing that you can do. Did you make, pardon me?
It's right there.
You could also evolve into, when you get your business going, into hiring an assistant, right? That can help you with these things, that actually will manage this CRM platform for you. My one and only assistant in my business became my wife. That's a fact. That's a true story. I hired her from Remax, and then she became my wife. I was thrilled with herself. Yeah, I stole her from Remax. The one down the street, actually, right here.
Are you serious? The realty services?
Yeah.
I'm from there.
Well, my wife was there 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I know her.
Yeah, probably do.
I could hire you as my assistant.
What's that? Yeah, it would have been interesting if I had to, no, I won't go there. I won't go there. Look, we're going to ask you some questions. What are the benefits of you managing with a CRM or assistant your systems? What are some of the benefits for you to do that?
Staying organized.
Oh, I love that. So organized.
Organization.
Again, if you come into my office and say, Mike, things are going rough. I don't know. The world sucks and real estate sucks. I want to quit. I'm going to say, what did you do yesterday, last week, last month? If you don't have something like this to show where you're organized and what you've done, then, sorry, there's your diagnosis. Start doing it, right? So this is going to help you get organized. Absolutely. Top of my list. What else?
Enabling follow-up reminder this year.
Follow-ups, 100%. Here's what I used to do in the old days. I was 18 to 24 contacts a year. We didn't have BombBomb, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have whatever else platforms you guys have. It was mailing, personal mailing. It was phone call or dropping by face to face were my options. Much more, effort on my part to do that. You have other alternatives now. So really today, they're talking about you probably doing about 36 plus is what you'll hear from a lot of people in the street of what you should be doing. And they can be from emails to your BombBombs, your face-to-face, if you have a personal monthly mailer. I know a lot of our realtors are using services that are sending content like that out. But yeah, absolutely, your follow-ups, it's going to help you trigger when you need to contact somebody. It's a reminder. What else is it going to do?
Keeps you top of mind.
That's going to keep you top of mind when you do all that, for sure, 100%. By connecting and talking with them, you're top of mind. You take this analogy, you want to be the neon sign realtor in the mind of your people. You know what a neon sign looks like. When they hear the word real estate, whether they're at a party, whether they're at the water cooler at their office, whether they're at their kids' play like last night and they hear the word real estate, you want in their mind for them to think of you. That's how much of a relationship you want to cement with those people. The days they come out and say, "Oh, my realtor Mike would be awesome to help you out. Can I get my realtor Mike to call you? Here's Mike's number, call him." That's what you want from these people by cementing the relationship with them with all these follow-ups. Because if you disappear, your past clients, if you disappear from their lives, there's this psychological thing called perceived indifference. Write that down, perceived indifference. What does that mean? In their mind, you don't care anymore. Because in their mind, all you cared about was getting paid, and now you've disappeared. So they have a perceived indifference now and bias that they're creating about you because you haven't stayed in touch. Don't let that happen. I'm telling you, in the long-term business formation for you, the gold mine is those people. We're going to look at the trifecta in a couple slides here. You see it right there. We'll go a little bit more deeper in it. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to ask you a question about trifecta actually momentarily. But if you look at it, the referral business is where you need to trend your business. You got to get it there. Okay. What else can you do with the CRM? What's it going to do? Free up time. Freedom.
Consistency.
Love that. That's awesome. Consistency, for sure. Love it. What do I do when I do Signature Live? Most recently, anyways. My most recent 5 or 6 or 7. You know what I've done now for Tressa. What am I talking about for Tressa for you guys?
Educators.
I'm educating you on compliance. So another thing about myself, I was an arbitrator for the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board for about 8 years. So I arbitrated cases for, generally speaking, commission disputes, right? So I've done hundreds of cases where I've been an arbitrator to dispute those things where there's two parties claiming that they are entitled to the commission. What I can tell you that when you go before a body like that, and I'm the past president of Mississauga Real Estate Board as well, and I've chaired everything, professional standard, arbitration, blah, 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 everything. Whenever I've dealt with where I've been on a panel or I've chaired a panel where there's been a problem, I want to see somebody that has a system that shows me time and time again, this is how they do their business for the compliance. Understand what I'm saying? But here's my system, Mike. I do this for every buyer. Every buyer, I explain the buyer representation agreement. I go through the clauses. They understand it. I get them to sign the working with the realtor. They sign this, they sign that, and they acknowledge all of that. Great, you've proven to me in a system that the likelihood that you are compliant is very high versus you're trying to reinvent the wheel every time. Systems are critical. I call them the McDonaldization, like McDonald's, you know, the Big Mac people. You go to a McDonald's here in Mississauga and you go to one in Vancouver, you go to one in Chicago, what's the likelihood you're going to get the same kind of experience at each one of those restaurants?
High.
Pretty high. Why? Because they McDonaldized a system. They have a manual that the franchise owners get for everything that happens in that store. What I'm encouraging you to look at for yourselves, your individual business, is to create a McDonaldized version of your business. So that when I have somebody that's a buyer that comes into my world, step 1, 2, 3, right to 100, this is what I'm going to do. Every one of them. So that you're not struggling and you're not investing time, energy in trying to reinvent something every time you meet somebody. That part of it's the customization part. But the system part is how do you deal with the buyer, how do you deal with the seller? Does that make sense? Okay. That one's huge. I like that one for the CRM all day long. And we're living in a litigious environment right now. I do a lot of the court cases for a brokerage too, or they'll give them to me for an assessment. And of course, lawyers do the cases. I don't do those. I do not have an LLB behind my name, but I look at them, I analyze hundreds and hundreds of cases. Again, the more system you have showing you're compliant, the better the likelihood is when you're in court. So I've gone to court with our realtors as well. The better the outcome is going to be for you. Okay. Any other possible reasons? Yeah.
For me, accountability. So like,
Accountability. Yeah, man.
set smart goals,
Love it.
pipeline, funnel, activities, all that stuff.
Accountability. Be your own boss. Accountability, right? The next one's a trifecta. Okay. Yeah, it's all different slides now for me. Yeah. Okay.
What was the third one?
This one?
No. What does that say?
Freedom.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I can't see.
That's why I never would have been a good teacher. I do not have good board writing skills. I'm never a teacher. Whenever I do stuff, I actually hate following scripts. And I usually do it for years.
Free flow, yeah.
That's awesome. So, all right, so we got trifecta. Repeat, referral, and new. This is a great way to look at where your business is coming from, buyer versus seller. Trifecta, new, referral, and repeat. Question for you. As a new realtor or newer realtor, who's less than 5 years in the room? Pretty much everybody except for 2 in the back. Okay. As a less than 5 years in the business, what is the hardest of the 3 for you to be successful in, do you think? Okay. Referral?
Repeat.
Repeat. Okay. New? Great. We got all 3. That's all. I love it. It's personal for each and every one of you, but my observations of watching newer realtors, it is what you said. It's the referral. Referral is the most difficult initially because you're struggling to develop the relationship, right? Here's what you want to write down. That they know you. Some people say like, I go love. Love you and trust you. These 3 elements have to form the basis for referrals that you're going to get in your business. And so as a newer realtor, you're developing and you're seeding essentially these 3 elements: know you, like you, love you, trust you in your business. So that's why I would make for your initial business, I think it the most difficult of the three. So if this is the most difficult, which is referral. By the way, this became the least difficult in my business in the last 5 or 6 years selling. Remember I said to you before, the most successful quadrant of realtors are the ones in the retirement phase. They're actually getting out because all that business is all referral business. They're just coming. I have an aunt that sells real estate in her mid to late 80s still. Oh, well. In the beaches in Toronto for Royal LePage on Queen Street and the beaches in Toronto. Yeah, she's there. Margot Madigan, you can look her up. She's my aunt. My first job was in real estate. I was 5 years old. Guess what I did?
Showing some-
I delivered flyers. I didn't show her. That would have been hilarious. I delivered flyers for my Aunt Margot when I was 5 years old in 1975, 1976 in the beaches with my cousin, who's also a realtor, Sean Madigan, and Sean works for Remax Hallmark on Queen Street. And Sean's my older cousin. I'm 5, and I was very naive. And so me and Sean go out with this stack of flyers to get out with my aunt's name and number and whatever. And my cousin Sean's like, "Hey, my mom's not ever going to know if we throw these things down into the sewer." I'm like, "Well, we shouldn't do that. Don't worry, nobody's going to find out. We dumped thousands of flyers into the sewer in the beaches." Guess what happened?
She found out.
We blocked the sewers. The city of Toronto called my aunt. The names were on the flyers saying, "Yeah, we got thousands of your flyers that have clogged up our sewer system." And so we lived side by side, actually. Like they were our next door neighbor. So my aunt comes over, knocks on the door. This is a couple days later, of course, right? Because it took a while for it to block it up, I guess, right? And my aunt says, I'm 5, 6 years old. And, "Hey, Michael, I just wanted to make sure, did you deliver all those flyers? And now don't lie now, Michael." And I'm like, processing very quickly as a 6-year-old, 5-year-old in my mind. Like, do I lie or do I not lie? Do I protect my cousin or I tell my aunt the truth? And so guess what I did? I ran. No, because my mom and my dad were behind me. I had nowhere to go. My aunt was in front of me, mom and dad behind me. What did I do?
Well, the truth.
I told the truth. I did. Yeah, I told my aunt, "Yeah, we threw it down." Yeah, and she said, "That wasn't your idea." I said, "No, it wasn't." My aunt thanked me and she walked out, and I could hear my aunt, yelling for my cousin to come immediately. But that was my first job in real estate for my Aunt Margot Madigan, who still sells real estate. And she sells huge amounts of money, transactions, because it's all referral business, people that have been working with her for 50+ years. She can't get out of the business for people wanting to give her the business, right? For new agents, newer agents, I think your path of least resistance is going to be in the new, right? Because you're not going to get a lot of repeat right off the bat, okay? Repeat business, we have that real estate cycle. It's like 4 to 7 years people do, transact in real estate. It's about 4 to 7 years is the average. So what are you looking at right now is 5 years and less. You're focused on the new. So where do you go for the new? What do you do to get new? Brand new. Pardon me? Well, you prospect. Where are you prospecting? Open house.
Social media,
Social.
contacts in your
Like this list is going to go off the thing. And it's going to be specific to what you want to do. Right? I was, we'll call these Popeyes. That's a term that Tom Hopkins came up with. That was his term. And then Brian Buffini grabbed it in his 100 Days to Greatness stuff. Everybody take Brian's stuff or seen Brian's information? Brian Buffini, no? Another great trainer. These are face to face. Me personally, as a brand new agent, I picked those 3 things as a new realtor to really focus on. You do have at your fingertips all kinds of other resources and methods to connect with people and do that prospecting. You pick what you want. Nobody's here to tell you what to do. Again, you're your own boss. Pick what works for you. But I'm telling you, face to face, on the phone, doing an open house, being somewhere where, yeah, there's people that are in the neighborhood just looking and being nosy to see what the house looks like. There's people that just go around, you know, on a weekend looking at people's houses too. But there's going to be people that buy and sell real estate that go through open houses. My first 3 transactions were open houses. My 4th was a walk-in. We don't get walk-ins anymore. It's not the way the business is done. But I got a walk-in one. And why? Because I was in my office every day during the week. Yeah.
So like you were talking about, it's best to talk about what's happening today in the market.
Yeah.
So I know previously open house is a good way to build database. I just want to know from people over here that have been doing it, like over the last 6 months, 5 months, are you still meeting a lot of new people?
Yeah.
Are you doing open houses?
So they're working, right? Just so everybody in the at home audience heard. So the question was about open house, do they still work? And the response in the room was absolutely, it still works. It is a bona fide method. You know, I talk about this in, I think, my next class, but I'll share with you now. I look at what you do in prospecting, like what a miner does when they're looking for gold. So let's use a miner like Barrick Gold. Ever hear of Barrick Gold? Big Canadian company. Its headquarters are in Toronto at One Brookfield Place where the Hockey Hall of Fame is. So Brookfield, its primary business is gold excavation, right? They go looking for gold. To get the gold though, what do they have to go through? To get gold. So the gold is the value. In our mind, that's the client. We're mining for clients, okay? Barrick's mining for gold. For them to find the gold, what do they have to go through a lot of to get to the gold? Like in real life, like dirt, rock, dirt. Think of it from a miner that's mining diamonds. Does the diamond miner need to do the same thing? Exactly the same thing. Why? Well, they're spending all that energy looking for something of value. Why is it valuable? Because it's not sitting on top of the ground like that for you to go walk by and just pick it up. If I could do that for every rock on the ground, there's no value. But if I have to spend all that energy, effort to go through a lot of rock, and for you, it's a lot of prospects, and this is something you need to figure out for yourself mathematically. How many people do you need to meet for you to get the client? Do you need to meet 10 people to get one? Do you need 50 to get one? You're all going to be different. You got to know that ratio. In the gold mining sector, Barrick knows what its all-in sustaining costs are. That's what they call it, to get an ounce of gold. It's a metric used in the standard of that industry, the mining industry. What's your metric for converting a prospect to a client? Make sense? So you guys, 5 years and younger, are focusing hardcore on the new side of your business. When we did our little assessment of yourself, you did your little assessment, start to measure yourself now on that new business, right? Because now you're going to think of the new mind's eye, generating new business. All the rest of it, the repeat and referrals, all going to come together. It's all going to come together for you in a future situation, right? Referral could come sooner, but repeat not likely for a few years. But how now are you measuring yourself based upon the assessment you just did on that new business you're doing? Again, you come into my office, I'm going to say, how many calls did you make? How many open houses have you done? How many pop-bys have you done? Pop-bys are physically visiting with somebody, right? I've got a really good pop-by dialogue for people for the spring market. You want to hear that one?
Yes.
No, right? Somebody said no? All right. So Who likes to barbecue? 2 people, that's it? Nobody likes to put like barbecue on, like,
I like to eat.
you like to eat? Okay, so you like to have people over in your backyard, you're gonna feed them some food, okay? Doesn't have to be a barbecue, you're just gonna feed them some food. So you wanna have a reason to have a memorable experience with somebody that you're gonna go visit that you know. I'm a big advocate in spending money with people you know. Not a big advocate in spending your money with people you don't know in our business, okay? Everybody understand what I mean by that? What I mean by that is complete strangers, don't give them your money. Friends, family, colleagues, that sphere that you're creating, give them your money. So you can go to Costco, you can go to wherever, you get these little tri-packs, ketchup, mustard, and relish. So who wouldn't use ketchup, mustard, and relish in their fridge? Does anybody not use any ketchup, mustard, and relish in their fridge? You don't? Okay. You don't either.
I don't like ketchup or mustard.
Yeah.
Or
Okay. Well, maybe your people do. This is getting to know your people, right? So if they do, come barbecue season, the spring market, you go to Costco, you pick up these little trifecta things, right? And you go to them and say, hey, listen, I just wanted to drop by and catch up. Catch up.
Not cheesy at all.
Not cheese it up. Because I relish the time spent together. And I think I really cut the mustard as a realtor. Enjoy. Okay? It's a break the ice kind of thing. They're gonna laugh, they're gonna smile. You know, it's coming in April or May or June or July. It's gonna cost you $5 or $6, $7 to give it to somebody that you really like. You're not doing it with strangers, okay? And please don't go and plaster your business cards, your stickers on this stuff. Just give it to them, okay? Here's another idea you can do.
Can you repeat that though? Sorry.
Pardon me?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm here to drop by just to catch up. Because I really relish our time together. Because I really cut the mustard as a realtor. Okay? If this is too much of a cheesy thing for you, then coming, in the spring market, why not go get some flowers from them so they can plant in their flower bed, help them beautify their property? What's that going to cost you? I'm just giving you ideas so that when you walk out of here, you can start to think of creative things that you're going to differentiate yourself from every other realtor. There's 75,000 of them, as we said earlier, in the marketplace. Okay? Don't be like everybody else. It's a good idea, right? One other thing it's not in the book as well. Most of the stuff's not in the book, so my head just comes up. You can look at yourself from 2 prisms as well, from looking at the trifecta. You can take the position where you're going to be a farmer or a hunter. So if you look at this trifecta again, and here's where you're going to assess yourself and what's your proclivity, what's your tendency. Am I a farmer kind of person, which means that I'm going to see things for the long harvest? Okay. Meaning if I'm going to plant a crop, wheat, beans, tomatoes, whatever, I don't harvest it that day, that week, right? I have to nurture it, I have to tend it, and then I'm going to have the harvest months later. Would you all agree with that? That's the farmer mentality. A lot of you probably gravitate to wanting to be like that because it's a less of a confrontational model to do versus the hunter approach. The hunter is the guy that goes out, makes the calls, does the open houses, does the pop-bys, forcing the conversation. The farmer's sending information the easy way, the social media, bomb videos, because I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to you, but I want you to see me. Understand? So where do you fit along that continuum? And there's a third version, which is actually the hybrid, which is what I was. I was a hybrid version of the hunter and the farmer. The farmer was my, what's that?
That would fit me too, I mean, to be honest, that's what I've been doing.
Right. And so for what you're gonna do, put it in your plan, your 1-year plan, your 3-year plan, your 10-year plan. That's what I advocate everybody do. They look at doing it short, medium, and long term. And every year review that and change that, right? And so what are you gonna set in as your focus for your lead generation? Are you gonna be the farmer model entirely, the hunter model entirely, or the hybrid? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that for people at home. Today was just a colossal collage of problems because of not having the right laptop and Matt being sick, but Najee's doing a great job, right? Thank you. He's doing it a rock star. Okay, so next one here is I want you to think about now your database. Who has a database in the room and at home? Everybody, fantastic. You shouldn't have been in the class if you didn't even have a database, right? So I'm gonna show you, and you've heard this and seen this probably a million times, but I want to reinforce it in your minds. I think you hear it on Signature Live all the time. Your database. You break it up into 5 categories. You probably heard of 4, the A's, B's, C's, and D's, right? Heard of those? Have you not heard that? Oh, good. So you guys are, so I add the 5th one, the A+. So right now you have your database. It could be on a CRM. Who's using the Royal LePage version that we have? What do they call it again? KV Core. Thank you. Who's using KV Core? Is it good?
Yeah.
And it's free. Who didn't put their hand up is not using it. It's free and it's good. You should use it because people are paying big bucks for CRM platform, right? So if it's free and it's good, take advantage of it. I know I've heard there's a big learning curve on it. Invest the time to learn it, okay? You're gonna take, sorry, I'm taking a while there. You're gonna take your database, you're gonna break them down right now. So some people think more is better. I got 1,000 people in my database. You have 1,000 people that know you, that you know their birthdays, that you know that their kids' name, their pets' names. You don't know that kind of level of detail, you probably don't have 1,000 people in your database, okay? So let's start from the best, the A+. The A+ is the neon sign in your mind that I talked about earlier. It's your billboard. It's a walking, talking billboard of Mike Kennelly as my realtor. And my A+ is in my database. Did I say this already? I can't remember. How many do you think I had in my database at the end of my career?
700.
700. Okay. Nope. Who said 25? Yeah, I'd like 22. Was my last. I had 22 people that I classified as A+ in my database. Walking, talking billboards. And what is that in my mind as a definition? Those are people that every time, without fail, will refer me to a friend, family, colleague at work. Always, without fail. Okay? An A. I think I had 150 A's. An A is not the same degree as an A+. And A is most likely to refer me to friends, family, colleagues. Most likely. Not always, most likely. So in their mind's eye, it's not a full-on neon sign in their mind's eye. A B. A B is somebody, and I had maybe, I don't know, like 200 of these, 200 to 250. Somebody that may refer me if prompted. If prompted. A C. I had probably about the same, 2 to 250. C is not likely. Not likely to refer me. So it's like a 20-30% likelihood I'm gonna get it. So with these people, I'm on a descending line of investing my time, energy, and money on these people, by the way, okay? All my focus is right here in that quadrant, okay? But maybe out of there, I can pull a couple of deals a year, so I'm gonna still invest in a little bit of marketing with those people. And a D, never. Never will. And I hate to say this, but most people that I talk to in our business that have databases have more Ds in it than they have anything else. They're never gonna work with them. The people that have the 1,000 people databases, it's just names and numbers in the database, and they're never gonna transact with them. And so with the D, you know, the adage with the D is to delete them. Delete them from your database. Get rid of them. This is not a competition on quantity for your database. It's a competition for quality for your database. Because when I finished, all of my business for referrals really came out of this source. I was getting 2 to 3 leads a year, every year from them. That's not sales. That's leads. That's opportunities to do sales. Right? I'm talking 60 to 70 opportunities a year, like clockwork, coming from those people that I invested the time, energy, and resources. Does that make sense? Took a while to get there, though, right? That's why I used the word 0 to 5. And that study was very interesting. It went out of Berkeley. 0 to 5 is the struggle time. If you survive the business after 5 years, it's a high likelihood percentage you're going to survive for as long as you want to survive in the business. Not to say from 5 to 10's not going to be a struggle and a challenge. It is. But you survive 0 to 5, high likelihood you're going to be in the business for a long time. And you're going to start to benefit from the referral and the repeat business at that point. How cool is that going to be when a referral lands in your lap and you get to go out and sell $1 million profit today? Make you feel real good. You're not going to walk into my office and go, I hate this business and I'm struggling in this business. You're going to come in my office and say, oh, I can't believe it. Johnny just gave me a referral. You stayed in touch with Johnny. You did all the right things with Johnny. You invested the money with Johnny. You gave Johnny the ketchup, relish, and mustard. You gave him some flowers. You gave him, I used to give out the forget-me-nots in the springtime, the little forget-me-not seeds. Forget-me-nots. They're not the best, but they're forget-me-nots. You want to give them whatever, go spend $20 at a flower shop. Have them plant it in their garden. There's no business card on that, but they'll see that flower for the whole summertime and think about you. Small little gesture. Make sense? Yeah.
As a new agent, have you ever like trying to like the Popeyes, for example? Would you ever even consider doing anything on the B or C section to move them up to the
No way.
A or A plus?
No, I would never spend that kind of money on these people. Never. Only these people.
So then how'd you get the A plus and the A's too?
Working really hard and connecting with them and staying in touch with them, cultivating them. You want to have a nice garden, you want to have, I don't know, I do tomatoes, I do blueberries, strawberries. If I didn't water that and take care of that, I wouldn't have a harvest. So I do the same with these types of people, which includes doing, so in the last couple of years of my career, I think I was one of the first ones to do it. I used to do twice a year the movie theater buyout, where I would buy out a theater on a Saturday or Sunday morning at 9 o'clock when, you know, they're happy to open up the doors and, you know, get some money for that. And I would host a movie, a family style movie that was not like a horror movie because I had, you know, young families coming. So it'd be kind of like today's Disney Pixar movies or something like that, like Cars or, you know, those types of movies where you would target it. And you go to this group of people. Now, the first one I ever ran was a colossal failure. Colossal failure. I only had like 20, 30 people show up because I made a mistake in how I invited people. I relied upon just a card invitation. I should have dropped by physically, should have called them as a reminder. I relied on a card. And when I did my kind of debrief of that scenario, I realized that I had to be more engaged. And by the last time I had a movie theater full of people Didn't cost me a dime, because guess what I thought of also, rather than all the money coming into my pocket? I had a mortgage broker. I had a building inspector. I had a lawyer. All helping to finance and subsidize that event for me. And they loved it because a lot of their clients were my clients that I had referred to them. And so they helped subsidize those events. So it didn't cost me anything by the end of it. You could now have in your list, because you have home stagers. Now we didn't have home stagers back then, right? You could add a stager to that list. You could, who?
Photographer,
Photographer, yeah, exactly.
first time videographer.
Or video. Think of all the people that you're using to solicit, that you give business to, that they're soliciting from you. That's a great opportunity for them to be in front of your database, right? And the other cool thing I had in my last couple of times, where it became, you know, a habit for people, routine, that I was doing these things. And so my the kids of the clients I had, because I coached hockey and baseball and breakfast, all my database stuff came from hockey players' parents and baseball players' parents. And so the kids would talk in their neighborhood about their realtor putting on this great event. And so I would start getting calls from the parents of the neighbors to see if they could come to the event. And what do you think I said? Sure, absolutely. Building a relationship through an A+ and A person. So little Johnny's out in the street playing street hockey, talking to his friend, you know, Fred, and Fred wants to go see, you know, Star Wars, and it's free. Tells his mom, like, little Johnny's getting to go, can I go? And then mom calls little John, or Johnny's mom, and then Johnny's mom calls me, says, is it okay? Yeah, just have her call me first, right? And we can clear it, because I just want to make sure that they're not dropping John or him off, and who's responsible for him. Like, I've got some liabilities, right? So then the mom would call me. Sure, absolutely, no problem. Come on over. That person becomes put into the B category for me. Happy. I've made my clients happy. They feel like heroes because their kid got to bring their friend in the neighborhood out, right? Just being creative, but spend your money wisely. Otherwise, you can spend and burn money real quick. Yeah.
Another question, so with your B section, right, back in the day, you guys didn't have social media to plaster your face all over the place and have all that. How would you, even though they gave you a little bit of business, how would you manage to have your face still like relative to them, to bring it that, what it feels like in a year?
Yeah, so we had email though, so just so you know that email did exist. I didn't grow up in a stone age with tablets, right? So we would email people, and you could do, and I brought some examples of, and you can grab one or two here for those in the room. These are just note cards. These work really cool, right? So it's a little tri-fold notepad, write a little note in there and mail it. Now I know the post mails are a little bit more expensive today than were back in those days. I think it was like 28, 30 cents to mail something, a personal note. Now it's closer to $1. But what a cool way, you know, an inexpensive way to stay in touch with people if you wanted to for the fees. My A's always got this kind of stuff, a personal note, every quarter got a personal note, right? Does that answer your questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. I think we can move on to the next one. Actually, we'll probably just burn through a bunch of this stuff. So this is the connectivity stuff in your booklet. I don't think there's much more that I can talk about in here. Let's go to the monthly initiative one there, see what that says there. All right, so I kind of chat about some of this stuff without having to follow through. See the Popeyes? So there's some ideas for you guys to start putting in your calendar visits. So we just had Valentine's Day 2 days ago. A little bit of a insight into how my mind works. So my wife that I've married to, our first date was Valentine's Day.
Oh, nice.
I proposed to her on Valentine's Day.
Very good.
I got married on Valentine's Day.
Aw.
And it's Valentine's Day.
Aye.
So I can't forget.
Yeah.
I'm a bundler. So yeah, there we go. So those are some great ideas for you guys. See the events one? There's movie morning. This is a great opportunity. I had a friend that copied and did the same thing as me with the movies. I remember I said, you know, do a Disney style, like a family style movie. He did one of those Friday the 13th movies or something like, it was a horror movie. And he had kids in the room. It was a complete disaster. And he came back and said, I don't know why the parents were angry at me. I'm like, because you took them to a slasher movie, like maybe be more kid appropriate. So be careful what you're going to give them, okay? Zoom bingo, I've heard about that being a success, and even Zoom poker. But there's all kinds of ideas here for you that you don't have to reinvent the wheel for. Just pick something and work at it and do it. Be proactive about it, okay? Next slide there, we can go. You got video. So I circled 3 things here for what I would say for you guys to focus in on as being newer. Would be your calls, which is top right, pop by, and video. Video, social media, I think you could probably connect the 2 of those. The others, you know, an event, a micro event, a macro event. Not a big advocate initially for realtors to do that because your marketing dollars are scarce. But if you do have the financial resources, then plan one out for sure, right? When I share with you the movie theater, I didn't do that until I was like 10 years into the business, right? I did not do that initially. Now you've got the next slide there, Najee, is the connectivity chart. It's just a simple kind of January to December where you can plug in some of the big days, again, as trigger points for you to populate your CRM. If you're not using the Royal LePage one, highly recommend you invest just the time because you're not even investing dollars to use that one, right? Next slide is just a blank connectivity chart for you. There's some notes. I guess you could have made some notes there while I was talking. You made some in the margins. This here, again, so Matt's responsible for sending a lot of collateral material that I've added to my program over the years. This is actually a snapshot screen grab of an Excel file. Have you guys received the Excel file? No. Okay. So when Matt gets back, or we'll get you to get Matt to give it to you and you can get it to everybody. So this is an Excel file that I received 24 years ago. And it's a one you can manipulate. So we put that in there, income of $100,000. I've left that because that was when I taught this course 15, 16, 17 years ago. $100,000 was the magic number everybody wanted to get to. Some people still have that. I think you're undercutting yourself massively if your target's only $100,000. I think you guys should be double that right now, quite frankly, right? But if you want to stay with 100, you can go. And this Excel file, you can manipulate all these kind of fields and it'll break it down in a really cool way for how many hours you need to work in a day, week, month, and a year type of thing. So we'll get Matt to figure that, through you, okay? Yeah. Next slide. This is my system. So you get it for free. I created this when I was selling 25 plus years ago, almost 30 years ago. I was an athlete. I played hockey, I played baseball. And I'm a guy that, you know, needed to have a playbook basically. So this is my playbook. And so this is just a very basic version. I mean, this thing had so many activities built into it, but it's an activity-based system. And so if you look at it, I would every week set a target of points, acquiring points every week, right? It's kind of like me being a hockey player. I want to track my goals and my assists, my penalty minutes, my time on the ice, right? I'm doing all these types of things. So this here is showing me all of these things, these activities that I can do. This list is not exhaustive. You've got in your book hundreds of examples of proactive things you can add to this and assign whatever point you want for it. This is custom for you, not for me. This is just the roadmap. This is just me showing you how you can create that. But essentially what you want to do is every week set a target for yourself. You want to get 250 points by Friday, 500 points, 1,000 points. You figure that out yourself. This is unique to you. And then again, you slot in whatever you want. So you don't have to stay and rely upon just these simple ones here. because there's literally hundreds of things you can be doing. We do have an interactive version of this as well that Matt through Najee will send out to you so that you can have it and you can modify it to however you want. But literally, this is what kept me on track. This is what kind of gave me my freedom, quite frankly, in my business to say, here's what I'm doing every week. This is my goal. You know, this is the dartboard, and that's the bullseye right there in the middle. I see it because I put it on paper and I'm going to stay focused to it. If I come up short that week, well, I'm not going to go into my manager's office and say, real estate sucks, help me out. Because I'm going to look at what I created here and go, oh, I know why I sucked this week, because I didn't do anything this week. Make sense? So I've taught this to tens of thousands of realtors in Ontario. That's how many people I've actually had in front of me over the years. Some have used it, some still use it today. And we have people in here, again, making 6-7-figure salaries that use this system. Up to you, it's free. You get it for free. It's gonna be part of my book as well, as part of the proactive things and how you can stay structured and in sync with what you're doing with yourself, okay? Next slide. Was there any questions? No. All right, we got mindset. So I'm a big mindset guy. What's the time? Are we almost like,
Yeah, I got 2 minutes before 1.
oh my God. Bad boy. Don't tell anybody, okay? Sorry. Has this been valuable for you this way?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
better? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If it's not, then I'll just go with a book. Okay, so mindset. And so in mindset, which I am an absolute student of life for, you go into my office at home, which is down in my man cave. I have one. I have all of my psychology books on personality, on social psychology, on abnormal, everything that I've all studied. With all my business psychology stuff, I love mindset stuff. I love psychology, like the real psychology, not pop psychology, the guess stuff that some people teach, right? So in real psychology, you know, neuropsychologists, which I've actually got some of them as really good friends because they were the ones that actually operated on my daughter. So my daughter has some of the best neuroscientists and psychologists in the world that are her personal doctors, which is so cool. They've determined that every day you have roughly 60,000 thoughts in a day. Has anybody heard this statistic before? No. No. Okay. So you have roughly 60,000 thoughts in a day. So that's from the waking moment to your sleeping moment. There's actually thoughts that you have while you're sleeping or dreams, right? Those thoughts are broken up into two types of thoughts. One is called routine thoughts. And the other is non-routine thoughts. What's amazing today for you, you've heard way more non-routine thoughts today than you usually do any day of your life. Because I've thrown a whole bunch of new things at you, right? Well, mostly you have routine thoughts. So out of the 60,000, probably 57, 58,000 of them, 59,000 are routine. Give me an example of a routine thought you've had today. You woke up today in bed, what's a thought you had in your mind?
I gotta make more breakfast.
Breakfast. Eat.
Take your bed.
Shower.
Garbage out.
Yeah, I made it. I did it. Sorry, what were some others I heard?
Yeah, the garbage is out for example.
Garbage.
Or for some people.
Oh, like garbage day?
Garbage day, yeah.
Okay. Never heard that one before in all the years I've taught. That's good.
That was today for me, that's.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, that's cool. Love it. What are some other routine thoughts?
Kids up.
Kids, right? Have kids? Yeah. Kids. You're all wearing clothes today, so I would think that you probably had some thoughts about what you're going to wear. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Did anybody go to the washroom? What are other thoughts you had? Sorry?
Do I want to hit snooze?
Ah, snooze. The purpose of it is just to think that most of what you actually think about are routine things. You're on autopilot. It's the non-routine things, the new things. Share with me a new thing you've heard me say today.
$1 million conversation.
$1 million conversation.
Thermometer and thermostat.
Dollar conversation. Sorry, what was that?
Thermometer and thermostat.
Thermometer and thermostat, go TNT.
ABC.
The ABCD. A plus.
Ito.
CETO. Anybody else want to throw another one out?
Dialogues.
Sorry?
Dialogues.
Dialogues.
Ketchup, mustard, relish.
Okay, so we got the ketchup, mustard, relish. Cool. You've been flooded then by these non-routine thoughts. What are you going to do with these non-routine thoughts?
Straight to routines.
Because if you do nothing with them in the mindset, they're going to disappear until somebody brings them up in the future, right? So your job is to transition these into your routine thoughts. So in your case, $1 million dialogue, your goal is to think about that every day, multiple times a day, so that it becomes wired in as a routine. How many days do you think it's going to take you to get a routine?
60.
So 30 is the one that everybody does say, right? And that's what we always say when it comes January 1st, I'm going to just go to the gym, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, right? 30 days and I'm going to power through it. It's actually more than that. It's, somebody said 90. It's about 90 days for you to absolutely crush this non-routine into a routine. That's 3 months at minimum. Some of us could do it quicker. Some of us can do it's going to take longer. But essentially, you need to work on taking this right now, because this is consciously in your mind right now. If you don't do anything with it, it's going to disappear into your unconscious mind. So from the mindset perspective, if this was something that was important for you that you heard today, elevate that up into a routine thought constantly during the day, every day. Focus, focus, focus on that. Does that make sense? Here's the thing about also mindset that I talk about with people all the time. It's the fear element that exists in people's world, right? And you've heard the acronym, sorry. You've heard the acronym about fear, false evidence appearing real. Have you heard that? False evidence appearing real? Is an acronym for fear. Write it down. False evidence appearing real. I thought a lot of people would know that. So fear is an emotion. It's one of the most powerful emotions. Not the most powerful, but one of the most powerful. And because it's not real, it's really just a ghost. It's a phantom. But it controls and dominates and dictates what you're going to do. So you have a choice. And how do you confront fear? And each one of us has different fears. For me, as a kid, I was terrified of snakes. Snakes just scared the living daylights out of me because my cousin Sean, who sells for Remax, and his brother Mark, older than Sean, they pinned me down and shoved a snake down my pants when I was like 7 years old. Maybe he was getting back at me for the fire thing. I don't know. You saw that. I've been scared of snakes ever since, but not as bad as I was, say even 25 years ago, because I did what's called cognitive therapy personally on myself, right? And I would look at a picture of a snake, which would scare the living daylights out of me. Just a picture of it, right? It's called systematic desensitization in psychology. Systematic desensitization, right? Desensitize myself to a fear of snake. To the point, I hosted a big Royal LePage event when I had my corporate brokerage, where I brought in Reptilia, which is a company out by Bond Square, the shopping mall, and they bring reptiles in, including a snake. And I touched a snake. I would never have touched a snake, but I worked myself up, right? Getting rid of that fear. Because I've changed the acronym from false evidence appearing real, right? Which is the phantom, to face everything and rise is what I've changed that to. So if I have a fear, I'm going to face it. I'm going to rise to it. Make sense? What are you afraid of in real estate? Like, you're afraid of door knocking because you think somebody's going to show up with a shotgun and blow you away? If that's your fear, that's a real fear, I guess, if you're somewhere down in the United States because they have a lot of guns. But in my experience, for 30 years, I've never heard that story yet. But some people actually think that. They're going to come out with an axe on them or a knife. Or they're going to sick their attack dog on them. If that's the worst thing that can happen, and I've never heard of a story like that happening, it may have, I haven't heard of it, then you work away from that. You build up and say, hey, things can't be as bad, right? Face everything and rise. I talked about EQI. EQI is basically looking at your intra, how you assess yourself internally, inter, how you assess yourself with other people, your ability to do decision-making, your ability for stress tolerance, and your general mood. I use the Bar-On method of EQI. If you ever want to look it up, Bar-On, B-A-R-O-N. Ruben Bar-On was his name. That's why I studied under a psychologist for that. That was a student of Carl Jung's. Does everybody know what Carl Jung was? So when I studied under this guy, he was in his 80s at that time. He had studied at the Carl Jung Institute. He's one of the most famous psychologists ever.
So this is a test you can do online, or?
There is, yeah, so I've got a certification I haven't done my certifications. I have done an official one in years, so I'd have to refresh myself because I actually fully on do a clinical analysis of people with it, right? So it's really cool. I was going to, when I finished my master's, I got accepted to Harvard. I was going to go to Harvard and do a PhD, but I stayed in real estate in Ontario. And here I am in front of you today, all these years later. Yeah, well, I met my wife. I have a happy life. I do, I truly do. Next one is financial status. So you've got, go back to that one. For mindset, let's go emotional. Put the word emotional beside the word mindset. Emotional. That's what's regulating you there. Go to number 2 now. So number 2 is your economic status. And below, so beside financial status, go economic. And then break that up into 2 quadrants, freedom or slavery. Below that, say peace, P-E-A-C-E, as in peace, be with you, versus panic. Not everybody has a financial situation in your life where they're in a comfort situation or they're in a situation where they're not worried or panicked or enslaved by lack of income, right? Not all of us, myself included. Like, I still have to work. I'm not, you know, I have not inherited any wealth, and I don't play lottery, so I can't win the lottery. Right? I didn't marry money. I married for love. So your financial status, what does that look like for you right now? Are you in a peace or panic situation? Because it's going to determine a lot of how you're going to behave. And maybe you're somewhere in the middle. I would say I'm somewhere in the middle, always have been, right? I don't think I'm ever going to be fully at peace. So, and I think I always want to have a little bit of the panic, because that to me is the incentive, right? It's the encouragement to keep on going, to get up every day and come out and know that I'm unemployed in the business of real estate. So my job is to go out and generate leads. If you don't have a little bit of panic in your financial world to do that, then you probably hit the snooze button. Whoever said that before, right? Bang, gonna go back to bed, right? For your financial status, I highly recommend you do a 12-month, 3-year, and 10-year financial plan for yourself. I actually do a monthly one. Every month I do a financial plan personally. I know it sounds like going to the dentist and getting a root canal. It's like, that sucks, Mike, but I do. Because it lessens the panic and anxiety I feel about money when I put it on paper. This is not it, this is just the ratio, right? If I put it on paper every month, my mortgage, my credit card, my hydro, my Enbridge, property taxes, groceries, mortgage, HELOC, like there's a lot of things, 407. Me putting it down, for me personally anyways, takes the anxiety away of, I know I have that bill to make every month, right? Versus that floating around in my brain every day, like, oh God, I know I got the 407 I gotta pay, I gotta pay my property tax, I gotta. That creates me personally a lot of dissension inside of me personally. Put it on paper. So I do one month, but I'm advocating every at least do a 1 year plan, right? Do a 1 year, 3 year, and 10 year. If you want to be a geek like me, go every month, right? Next one, if you could. Goals and status. We talked a lot about this stuff already. I would just say at the top beside goals and results, say it's your target, it's your bullseye. You don't have a plan, you can never accomplish pretty much anything. Like you have no targets, you have no goals, no bullseyes. Next one is review and track your numbers. This is for each of you to kind of do a lobotomy, I guess, on your business right now to say where is your business coming from. So you've got repeat, referral, traditional, ad signs, all the way down. So look at where your business is and you start to fill in the blanks, right? You can do it right in the workbook that we've given you, right? So you don't have to do it here right now. You can do it when you get home and fill it out, but at least know where your business is coming from. Where's the sources? And you may find, interesting that you may have thought you were not good at doing open houses. And then, when you do this analysis, 60% of your business might have been coming from there. Well, if that's the case, that's something you should focus on. Take advantage of that. Right?
How far back should we go?
As far as you started your business. Yep. I would do all of your business, a complete business analysis, right? So if it's 5 years in the business, go back all 5 years. If it's 3 months, go back 3 months, okay? And at the bottom, you got some of the, what percent are sellers and what percent are buyers. My guess is in this room, because you're less than 5 years, most of you, primarily it's going to be high buyer percentage, right? Because they're easier for us to work with. I was guilty of that too. When I first started, my percentage was probably 80% buyers versus sellers in my first 5 years. Okay.
And when did you see that change?
Probably about the 5, 6, 7 year mark. Then it became 50-50. Then it became 70-30 seller buyers. Yeah. Just for your knowledge, GCI stands for gross commission income, in case you didn't know. That's your gross number, right? Which would include your taxes, your HST that's embedded in your commission as well. All right, next page there. This just continues the exercise. And then you can do your income goals. Part of your Excel file that you're going to get through Najee and Matt, there's yearly goals for all the stuff built into that. So if you want to use the Excel file to help you fill in those blanks, then go ahead. Next one is for strategy. So this is your plan. So just put beside the word strategy, go plan. And I'm going to give you one of my most favorite quotes of all times from a very famous author, Miguel de Cervantes. Did everybody heard of Miguel de Cervantes, an author? He wrote the second most highly sold book in the history of selling books, Miguel de Cervantes. Does anybody know what the #1 selling book was? The Bible? The Bible is, yeah. This is #2. He wrote Don Quixote. Ever hear of Don Quixote? No? Okay. Don Quixote, yeah. Miguel de Cervantes. In that book, there's this quote. Here's what he says. A man prepared has his battle half fought. So put beside the word plan and then that quote. A man prepared. They were sexist back then, by the way, it's in the 50s, 1600s. A man prepared has his battle half fought. Half fought.
And Mike, Kiana will be sending out the materials.
Beautiful. Yeah. A man prepared has his battle half fought. What does that mean? Without a plan, you have nothing to focus on every day. You have nothing to give yourself feedback every day, to assess whether you're moving forward, whether you're stagnant or you're moving back. So the strategy and the plan is very important. This is the part of your business I know that is not the exciting stuff. It's not the fun and game stuff, but it's mandatory that you do that. Do you think that, for instance, Chris and Jeff, when they built this version of Signature that they took from their father and their grandfather, they didn't have a strategy in place to grow this business? Because when their father had the business, I believe it was 150 agents or something around that. I could be correct, but it was not, it was a typical general brokerage. We're now at 1,600 realtors. That didn't happen without a plan and a strategy. They went into place. You're no different. And the sooner that you individually realize that you're running a business, right? That it's not anything that's more or less than a business. It's business, 1,000%. The sooner you're going to think like a business person. People are going to feel that from you. Your consumers, your clients, your prospects are going to feel that energy. Because when you go into, who likes to go to the keg? Okay, good. I have a keg too. That's where we went for Valentine's Day this year. So I go to the keg. I have an expectation of what I'm going to get from the keg. Again, they had a plan and strategy in place on how they deliver service there, right? If they didn't deliver what I expected, because maybe they stopped doing their plan, they stopped training their servers and their cooks, and everything just came out of the kitchen willy-nilly, I'm probably going to say, what the heck happened here? And maybe never go back. You need to think the same way for you and your real estate business. Because yes, you're Royal LePage, and yes, you're Royal LePage Signature, but more importantly, most importantly, it's you. It's your business. You're just tapping into and plugging into the resources that we provide, the back-end services. But this is your business more than it says Royal LePage or Royal LePage Signature. I'm going to give you a secret. Most people don't know who you work for. When it really comes down to it, they don't know you even work for Royal LePage. They just know it's you. Because you've built the relationship, the trust, the knowledge, they like you, right? Know you, like you, trust you thing. It's you. Yes, you plugged into a company that has the same kind of ethics and integrity you have, which is fantastic, but it's you. And if you don't have a strategy and plan, you can make mistakes. Because here's what I learned too. When I was getting my referrals from my database, Najee refers me, whoever. They come to me, but you were saying to them how great I was doing, delivering ketchup, mustard, around, whatever it was, you were bragging about me to Peter, and Peter came to me, and let's say I didn't have my system, I was just winging it with him, and when I was winging with him, I knocked it out of the park, I hit a home run with him, and then Peter comes to me because it's a referral, and I don't do what he said I did, and the reason why Peter came to me, and I missed that. I have a credibility gap, big time. I have a system, meaning I do this every time. I might not have known exactly why the referral happened, but I'm going to execute it on it because I have the system in place. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. Number 5. We're almost done. Take some bagels, please.
Okay, well, thank you so much for everything. Sorry.
You're welcome.
You're running.
The trifecta, we went into detail. You're not going to miss much, actually. I'm going to go real quick here. We talked about the trifecta stuff. Go to the connectivity chart stuff. Yep, keep going, keep going. Go to the 5 learning. There we go. So learning. Put this acronym beside the word learning. LAPS. LAPS. So you're going to be another one of these non-routine thoughts I'm planting in your conscious today. L stands for, what do you think? Learning. Okay. A stands for application. P stands for practice. And S stands for spirit. Let me write that down for everybody. Application. Spirit. So you're learning today. Here's a secret for you. You're never going to stop learning in whatever you do in life. I learn things all the time about real estate, despite the fact that I am a student of real estate. I absorb like osmosis as much as I can, and I still learn stuff. So never stop being a student, okay? You never stop learning. When you're learning, you got to transition that and make it an application into what you're doing. So today I'm giving you all kinds of application ideas for the learning, right? So you've seen kind of how the process that I teach in is this LAPS system, okay? Or PSA is another one I use, Principal Story Application. It's a version of this, PSA. Principal Story Application. Essentially, I'm teaching you visually and with words. So that I'm implanting visuals in your brain on these various elements that you need to learn to be successful. Make sense? The practice part, we talked about that. I gave you the PDR, practice, drill, rehearse acronym. PDR, practice, drill, rehearse. If you take the if I could, would you dialogue, and you don't practice that with different words filling in those blanks, then it's not gone from that non-routine thought today. It's gone in, that I gave you. It's going to go back into your subconscious and not be part of your routine. But if you go and practice that every day, you make up the scenarios in your mind. Maybe you've struggled hard and fast on all kinds of situations where you can't convert somebody. Figure out the words for the if I could, would you, just get a positive situation outcome for that. So that's putting it using the P, practice, practice, practice. I have this situation, I failed. That situation, I failed. That was the situation I failed. What if I did this? If I could, would you? Could I have solved that situation? Could I have had a positive outcome? Great. Let me practice that in my mind. Let me use Najee as a resource and practice on him before I go and try it in the real world. Okay. And in the spirit part, that can mean anything to anybody. For me, it's more of a real spiritual, like God, religious. But it could be spirit of motivation for you, right? Spirit of encouragement for you. It's just what is that thing that is going to keep inspiring you, okay? What inspires you to do that, to motivate you, okay? The LAPS system for learning. Go to the next one if you want. Actually, no, I'm going to give you one more. Another analogy. The parachute analogy. Everybody know what a parachute is? So if I jump out of an airplane, and if I have a parachute on my back, right? If I pull the cord and the parachute goes up, what happens? I hopefully land safely. If I jump out of the airplane and I pull the parachute cord and it doesn't open, what generally is going to happen to me? Splat. I'm going to splat. I'm going to die. So learning is like a parachute. Because the first thing you need to do when you learn is to have what? Your parachute has to open. So you have to have an open mind to learn. I don't go in with preconceived judgments or ideas. I go in with an open mind. And today, maybe somebody said, there's one thing, I only got one thing from what I heard from Mike today. That's great. To me, that's a victory for me. One thing that anybody walks away from that can change your life, I'm good with that. If there's zero, then you didn't have an open mind today. I was taught to me by a veteran of World War II that was a parachutist in the Second World War. Mike, you don't have an open mind. It's like me jumping out of the airplane with my parachute. It doesn't open up. I go flat. Open mind learning. Okay. Now we go to 6. How many more pages do I got? Oh, I got a couple more pages. Okay, go. So my message. So there's really no homework in this course, but I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. Okay. I gave you this sheet. Has everybody got the sheet of fear words?
Yes.
Yes. Everybody got a copy of that? Yep. Okay. For sure, everybody got it? They don't have to at home, do they?
No.
Shoot. Okay, so I'm going to give you this here.
Thank you. I'll take that picture. Thank
We're just gonna, we'll verbalize it, okay? So, my message, you see what here says, you should do business with me because, you see that little line that they put in the little workbook? To me, that's your elevator speech or elevator pitch, okay? Is what when I read that, that's what I see for that. So, these words that I've just given you, these are the fear words that are used in real estate that create and trigger a psychological negative impression and feeling to your consumer, to your client, okay? The first one is commission. Oh yeah, you can take a picture of that instead. Perfect.
Yeah, got it.
Again, sorry for the technological stuff here, folks. So the first one is commission. How often do I still hear that word day in, day out from realtors? My commission this, my commission that, I gotta cut my commission, commission. What's a new word? It's not a new word, it's been around forever. What's a word we can replace commission with? Huh? Remuneration?
Yeah.
That's one. That's a good one. You can put in remuneration. So in that little blank there, put in the word remuneration. That's an example. How about the word fee? It's an easier one off the tongue, right? We can start using the word fee instead of the word commission. Now, just, pardon me? It sounds better, doesn't it?
Scary.
Correct, it's not scary. So when you hear the word fee, it's not as threatening, right? Fee. Next word, cost or price. This is going to cost you $1.3 million. The price on this listing is $1.3 million. Those are pretty harsh words, cost and price. Asking, is that an example? I wouldn't write that in yet. What's a better, more easier digestible word we could use for that? Investment. Investment. Word investment. Your investment today is $1.3 million to secure this beautiful property. Investment. Down payment. Your down payment, we need 5% as a down payment. We need 10% as a down payment. Again, pretty harsh, right? Like it's psychologically triggering this word, right? You're scaring people. They have fear. False evidence appearing real stuff, right? We're going to change it and make it face everything in rise words. So down payment, we're going to change it to initial investment. Monthly payment, of course, would be monthly investment. There's an easy one for you. Number 5, the contract. I'm going to have to get you to sign this contract. Again, we're scaring people with these bad words, fear words, right? What can we change the word contract with?
Agreement.
Agreement. Got another one for you. The paperwork. That's what I used to use. The paperwork. The next one is the word buy. I'm going to get you to buy this for $1.3 million. And it's going to cost you $1.3 million. We get you to buy this for own. We're going to get you to own this, and your initial investment is $1.3 million. Again, we're just rounding out the edges of words, making them much more digestible, okay? Number 7, sell or sold. I'm going to sell you on this $1.3 million home, and your down payment's going to be blah, blah, blah. Again, I use all the bad words. What word can we use to replace that word? I've actually got, yeah, I got it here. Got a good word for you. 2 words for you. I'm going to get you involved. I'm going to get you involved on this beautiful investment. All I need to do to have you own this is to get you to, I'm not going to say this word, the paperwork. We're going to change something here, the word sign. The deal. I got a great deal for you. Good opportunity. I think opportunity is a better word. Deal. When I hear the word deal, I always think of those late night commercial guys. you know, hawking whatever. The George Foreman grill, or you ever remember the spray, the hair cannon, the spray? Or you guys too young? I'm too old. There was a guy, Ronco hairspray guy. You could spray hair if you were bald. Never heard of that? Yeah, it's crazy. Hair in a can, it was called.
I think they mislab it.
I think it was poison. I think it was chemicals. Okay, we got number 9, sign. I got 3 examples of this. I'm gonna give you the one I used. What did I tell you? All my business was focused in the web part. Where did I focus all my business on? Minor sports, right? Hockey and baseball. So for me, instead of saying sign, I said, I need your autograph, right? Because it was part of my world that I lived in, right? The autograph. So if you're in that space, it's a great way to use, you know, words, language from there. The 2 other ones that I came up with are okay it. Just need you to okay this. Or I need you to sign off on this. So okay it and or sign off on it. Number 10, pitch. I hate that word. I always hate that word. We use it all the time here in our business. The real good one is presentation. So I'm not really teaching you a new word here. Use the word presentation, not pitch. Okay. The word problem. You know how many times a day I hear the word problem out of the mouths of human beings? Way too many times. It's the self-talk that you guys do to yourselves every day. Problem. And I turn it around immediately and say, no, you don't have a problem. You have a challenge. You have a challenge. Problems suck. Nobody wants problems. Whose life isn't full of problems? Here's another analogy for you. Taught to me by a guy that said in Reno. He said, we're all like garbage trucks. We're all driving around with our garbage trucks. You know? Well, what does a garbage truck have in his back? Garbage. No, garbage. Right. Some people, though, enjoy driving their garbage trucks with garbage. Some of them are full of garbage. Some have less garbage than others. We all have garbage in our life, all of us. Okay. But some people take great pleasure in driving their garbage truck up to your front lawn, backing it up and dumping it on your front lawn. Are you going to let them do that? Hold on. You don't deserve that. Okay. That's their problem, not your problem. Number 12, objection. I've got objections to this. It's really stupid. I object to that. How can we change that word? Concern. Areas of concern. Yeah, smart class. Areas of concern. Number 13, cheaper. Cheaper. Doesn't that word sound?
Less expensive.
Pardon me?
Less expensive.
That's a good one, but I'll give you a better one. Economical. We're not going to go looking for the cheap house. Who wants to buy a cheap house? We're going to go look for an economical solution. An economical. Number 14 is easy. Customer. We want them to be client. Customer, client. Okay. A looker. Has everybody heard the analogy tire kicker? You ever heard that before? Well, that guy's just a tire kicker. It means, you know, it's a car analogy where they're just shopping around for cars at all the dealerships. They're kicking tires. So they're not really serious, is what we've, in our mind's eye, created. They are tire kickers. They are lookers. In our business, we call them actually looky-loos, is what we called them like 30 years ago. That was the term, looky-loos. So instead of calling them looky-loos or tire kickers, let's look at them as being researchers. I want you to stop thinking negative, and I want you to start thinking positive with people. And why I say researcher, put yourself in the position of a consumer, a buyer of something. If you're going to buy a new car, if you're going to buy a vacation, are you not doing research? Are you not contacting people that are not getting a sale? Are you doing that maliciously to hurt them? No, you're researching and maybe they didn't have the service or product to sell you that you wanted. You got to start thinking in that line to maintain your sanity, right? Your psychological positive sanity, right? That they're not doing this to you. Because I see this a lot with realtors. They take it personally and they wear that. It has nothing to do with you personally. It's them, okay? As a researcher. A prospect is a future client
Potential client.
or potential client. Sure. And 17, there's two of them. You can call it a visit or pop by. So there's 17 trigger words, fear words that are used daily in our business that I'm encouraging you as now a non-routine thought to move them up into a routine that you start to think about these every day. And one of the ways I'm going to have you help you to do this is the only homework I'm going to give you for today. You take those 17 words and put it into answering that question. You should do business with me because. Using those words, put together your 30-second elevator speech using those words and what you do. Because so many times you look like a deer in headlights when you're asked that question. Yeah, like it's actually really, we're over. Yeah.
What was the last one for appointment?
Sorry.
For appointment?
Visit.
Visitor or pop by. Yeah.
I missed the monthly payment. What was that?
That is monthly investment. Yeah.
Most of us have the champions next Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Can you do it on Thursday or is it?
We'll have to figure that out.
The last one is calls and execution. I'll do this really quickly. And the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to recite a poem to you that I absolutely love. The last one is execution. Put in the words calls, pop-bys, add to database and videos. That's your execution. Calls, pop-bys, add to database and videos. Calls, pop-bys, add to database and videos. Calls, pop-bys, add to database and videos. Those are 4 ways you can execute. You can do more. I'm giving you the top 4. We'd like you to focus on 3 or 4 things to execute on for the trifecta. Homes. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to finish with is this poem by Dr. Dennis Whaley, the guy I told you about that was the psychologist for the U.S. astronaut program at NASA, and he was the U.S. Olympic psychologist during the 70s as well for the U.S. Olympic team. He's a psychologist, brilliant man. So here's his poem. You guys ready? There is an island fantasy, a someday isle. We'll never see when recession stops, inflation ceases, our mortgages paid, our pay increases. That someday isle where problems and where every piece of mail is from a friend, where the children are sweet and already grown. Most unhappy people, but happiness on layaway, and struggle through a blue today. Life's most important revelation is that the journey means more than destination. So that poem, that's the abbreviated version. You get the long form version, which is like 4 minutes long. It's basically do not put your hopes and dreams and what you want on a layaway. The someday I'll do this. Someday I will go and make those calls, pop-bys, visits, videos. I'll do that someday. That someday never arrives, ever. And you're the only person that is the person that loses because of that. So Dennis Whaley, The Island of Someday Isle, you get the full actual one. Actually, you know what? I'll get it for you guys. You can send it out with all the stuff. So you're going to get an email either through Najee or Matt with a lot of the collateral that I've given outside of the course as well for what I created. One's going to be the critical role of realtor. So like 150 things you guys do that you can start, marketing, advertising that. I'll get the Someday Isle. We'll get the proactive thing. We'll get the Excel file thing for you. We'll get you a whole bunch of stuff to start reading. Okay. Now, anything you guys want to talk about next week? Just think about what we did today. Bring it with you. as I said when I started, I'd rather have you guys talk about what's happening right now and work on that stuff. We'll stay somewhat to the course. I'll do what I did today. But this is about you guys, right? It's about you guys trying to figure out your way in real estate. Because I'll tell you one thing. If you ever watch me on stage at the awards nights, I'm as happy as you guys are. And that's the truth. When I watch people come up and get whatever award it is, if that's what motivates you, I am as happy as you guys are. Truly am. Like Taraj, when you first came up the first year, I couldn't be more happier for you. Because I genuinely want to see people succeed. I don't want to see the investment you made to get your license to be here, to go for naught. I want you guys to actually realize what those dreams were, that why that we wrote about in the first thing about 2.5 hours ago, right? So we'll see you guys next week. We'll figure out what that day is, because you said it's Friday's the champions.
Friday's champions.
Okay, so we'll have to look at what we're gonna do is work around that. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, there's all kinds of food here. Please take it.
For the experience, calls, Popeyes, videos, and database, right?
You got it. Those are just the four. I mean,
Yeah.
my 4 examples, you can do whatever you want.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Here, 12.
At 12. I have it from 1 to 11 to 1 plus, right?
I will, 12.